Okay, so we're live now.
All right, we're live, so let's go ahead and call the budget committee to order. We have guests tonight. We'll start with introductions. I'm Michelle King. I'm the chair of the budget committee.
All right, John Decker, Vice Chair.
Michael Keister.
Michael Kelly.
Robert Kelly.
Sandra Jones.
Thomas Butkevich.
And just looks like Jeff Morrison isn't here. All right, we'll go over the acceptance of minutes from 12/14.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of 12/14.
Great, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from 12/14, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
I'm abstaining.
All right, so moving right along.
All
we'll
right,
go
so
ahead
they
and-
can choose lots to, who goes first.
Yes, whoever wants to go first.
The library would be happy to go first.
Great.
Why not?
Happy to have you.
Library,
All right.
library.
Yeah. We'll flip to the library section of the budget.
And while everyone is flipping pages, I am Jennifer Phillips. I am the chair of the library trustees. And this is Liz Bolton, who is the director of the library.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Nice to meet you
coming.
too.
Here's first the back. It's 344.
Would have been easier if you were in order.
344.
Starts on 344.
First page, yeah.
344. Second to last page.
Yes, there's new ones
Yeah.
over there. It's the
Oh,
same.
I see.
I felt like printed new ones. Did you forget yours?
What did I have last night?
They're slightly different.
They are slightly different?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Am I supposed to make some kind of statement or?
sure.
This is
Yeah.
the first time that the library has been in a position where we've had such a significant increase. We have in the past tried to keep it to between 1% and 3%. Like everyone else that I'm sure you're going to have before you, we are getting hammered, not physically, but hammered by inflation and tight labor market. And increased demand through town population growth, which actually has a couple of different ramifications. Yes, there's increased traffic, but that really where we start seeing pricing issues is our overdrive system, which is our books, the downloadable books, is priced based on usage. So the more it's used, the higher the cost. And then we have programs like Ancestry.com. We have a special library use program that is used by libraries, and that is tied directly to town population. And once we ticked over the 5,000 number, it goes up in price. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it goes
Okay.
up by $200.
$200. So it's these cumulative little things combined with the inflationary costs of cleaning materials and ongoing staffing issues and a bunch of other things that have really kind of come to a head. And a big one also are the maintenance issues that we've kind of, I guess, started to see the results of a 20-year-old, the addition to the library was put on in 2000. It's 21 years old now, and we're starting to see the ramifications of just an older building. Liz was just telling me that our heating system is probably going to be limping through this last season, but we'll probably need replacement next year. We had a plumber out 2 weeks ago to deal with a leak. We have exterior issues of loose, cracked siding. We have algae and mold growing on the outside of the building. We have rotting wood. We have the front sidewalk settling and causing a trip hazard. I could go on, but I won't. But these little, you know, individually, they all look small, but we can't let these things go too long, or they become more expensive. And with that, I'll let you ask whatever specific questions you have about what we've got before you.
Well, right, so like, for instance, the sidewalk, I mean, how long's that been like a problem? 'Cause
It's settling,
Yeah.
and we've got little bits that every winter increase a little bit more. So we now have the joins where the sidewalk is high enough up that we probably have to lift and re-level the ground underneath. That's not an inexpensive proposition.
It's a tripping hazard. We had a patron in today who could barely lift his feet. He shuffled in. It's okay coming in, it's not so good coming out.
Well, right, I mean, that's why, I mean, that stuff needs to be addressed like right away. You know, because of safety reasons, and I'm just surprised if that, you know,
Well, our interim solution is to try and track down some kind of reflective paint and at least get it so that people are aware, that, have it pointed out.
What you have done so far, is that what you're telling me?
That's what we're trying to find, reflective paint that I don't have to buy in a 10-gallon bucket.
Oh, okay.
I had a call over to the highway department to see if they had any striping paint or anything. We don't want to have to spend a lot of money to put just a little paint on, but we're having a hard time finding small amounts of highway quality reflective paint.
Do you have a wheelchair ramp for it?
There is a wheelchair ramp on the side of the building, that's to get in. This is the sidewalk that just leads up to the front door from the parking lot, and there is no ramp there. It's pretty level, except for where it's heaving.
Was the merit pool moved to the budget?
I don't think so. Merit pool?
they're not part of the merit pool, if I recall.
We're not part of it.
Oh, you're not, okay.
No.
I saw that it was in the 21 budget. $1,000.
It
Oh,
was.
yeah.
And now it's.
Actually, it does say library merit compensation pool, so they have their own pool?
But it's zero now.
But we've zeroed it out. I mean,
I was just wondering if it was moved, that's all.
No.
Yeah.
So it looks like under line 346 that it was just an increase of $2,000 from 2021 to 2022. And would that increase take care of most of these maintenance concerns, or?
I'm assuming.
Yep.
So, the maintenance, we've increased from 2,500 to 30, the proposed is increasing it by $1,000.
Okay.
We've been trying to address these most serious ones first and least expensive ones first.
I was gonna say, in the current climate, it's extremely difficult to get anyone to call us back for an estimate. I'm emailing, I'm calling people, I'm not really getting,
Contractors are slammed for sure.
unfortunately not.
Does this budget take care of every safety issue?
No. We have a pathway, so I think that what I'm trying to do is triage some of the safety issues. The downstairs emergency exit, which is a door that leads outside and around the library, is uneven stone that now has a considerable amount of algae on it. It would be slick and dangerous if it's wet when there's an emergency. So the question I'm left with then is, all right, rather than asking for enough money to take care of all of these at once, doesn't it make more sense to address the front walkway that's used every day constantly, and then next time address the hopefully not used emergency exit around the back? I think that everyone would have fainted if I had brought every single maintenance issue. I just very quickly scribbled out a list today There's water damage to the wood on the door trims. There's loose and damaged siding, rotting trim frames around windows and doors, algae, mold, and mildew growing on the exterior, uneven pavement on the sidewalk, footpath from emergency exit. The front portico has what appears to be wood rot. The tree canopy needs to have a tree health assessment done, possibly thin it, because we've got a lot of trees starting to come over the building. And the front door is not ADA compliant. The parking lot needs a feasibility study to be redesigned because it is uneven and dangerous. Then there needs to be a path from the building to the lower parking lot. In the interior, the handicap lift is failing, plumbing issue, and the heating system failure. So,
Tyler, is any of these issues things that the selectmen can take care of with especially the safety issues, that concerns me. You know, and unfortunately, you guys need to kind of look at these things more frequently, and
I've been in this position since
yeah,
April
I
of
know.
last
I'm
year.
not necessarily blaming you, I know it's, yeah.
I don't disagree.
You're volunteering for this role, I appreciate that, but, you know, it's just something to maybe put on your checklist of saying, okay, we have a building we have to look out for.
It is absolutely our responsibility as trustees to do that. And I will say that, one of the members of the Friends group was the one that walked me around the exterior of the building and said,
Just show you,
Look.
point out everything that was going on with that, yeah.
because I'm in and out of there at night for meetings and I'm not staring at the rotting siding.
Chief, I don't know if that's anything you guys could take a look at too.
As far as safety standpoint goes.
Yeah, we actually just said in our, safety meetings, you know, I think a couple months ago, we walked around there and identified some stuff, I think Liz, you did say a couple of things.
Yeah.
But certainly, yeah, absolutely, if there's some safety, especially with people walking in or things not being PDA compliant or what, I mean, I think that would be a good thing.
You have an idea of what, the cost of it?
I do not. I have not.
It wasn't so darn
I-
cold, I would do
Have
it.
we received an
It
estimate
wasn't so
for that?
darn
No,
cold,
we've
I'd
not
go
even
over and
got
do
even
it.
the call
You just need
back.
retro-reflective paint.
Well, that's the stopgap. That at least makes it so that
Notice.
people are aware, yeah. And potentially a, sign that says uneven pavement. To
It
get it
probably
actually
needs-
leveled, I don't know.
It probably needs to have that piece of sidewalk broken out and just re-poured.
So there are 3 separate sections that
Right,
have.
right, so the
Yeah.
section that's, one of the section,
Yeah.
is off balance from the other, or
Mhm.
whatever.
Time of year, I'm not sure.
Right, this time of the year gets hard because, I mean, that's a
Freezing.
summer job.
And summer is, I think, when we started trying to get answers.
Is it something where the concrete that's sticking up can just be ground down?
I do not know. I'm
That's
not an
actually a good,
Because I have a like an electric jackhammer. It's really easy to do that.
actually, a grinder could actually help reduce the trip hazard probably some.
I would be more than happy to volunteer Liz's time.
I would volunteer my time to help, yeah.
To walk people through and show, whomever, if you wanted to do that, we would certainly not turn down free help.
Between 60 and 100.
Would you say, 60, they're all?
I was gonna say at least a third of them.
And that number has been declining for years, right? What I read in the the town newsletter a year or 2 ago.
As far as library use, that would be, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
We don't track
There,
age.
yeah, there were some people who, yes, I used to see, I do not see anymore.
Well, this was, I read this in the newsletter like 2 years ago, pre-COVID. The Friends of the Library Fund, can that be used to pay for any of these things?
They don't have the money. They usually donate about $1,000 a year.
Usually, yeah, Due to COVID in 2020, they were unable to have their annual book sale, which is the bulk of the funding, and they could not have their tea, which was another, both of which about $2,000. We asked them for about $1,500 for museum passes and extras during the year. This year, they were able to give me about $350. They do have some more money, but
So COVID's impacted fundraising essentially?
Oh, yes.
yes.
Okay. Have you guys gotten the GuideStar account set up?
We have not. GuideStar is similar to GoFundMe in that it takes a cut. We did talk to,
My understanding was that you just got to get listed in GuideStar, and then things like GoFundMe can
well,
collect for you. It just verifies that you're a nonprofit or a government entity that qualifies. And I contacted Chris Sterndale in March of 2020, and he said he got the library all the necessary documents to get set up with GuideStar.
I don't recall seeing any documents, but that doesn't mean that he didn't send something to someone.
Because I reached out to Chris and said that you guys, that was the stumbling block for getting you guys set up for GoFundMe, was that you had to be listed in GuideStar.
Okay.
And he said he sent over all the necessary documents, so I can have him send
Well,
them again.
You please do. We are happy to take whatever financial, we also talked to neighboring libraries about putting a button on the website that essentially it goes to PayPal. They said, again, PayPal takes a cut, don't count on it for a lot of money. These two libraries each said that they made about $100 a year that way.
Yeah, with PayPal, you can, if you pay direct, they won't take a cut, but if you use those buttons, they collect from it.
Yeah.
What's useful with PayPal is setting up recurring donations. So if you can get someone to set up a, $2 or $3 a month recurring donation, it can sometimes sit there for years, so.
We are investigating as many options as we can. Now, both of the libraries that I talked to about their button said that what they do find very financially lucrative, not lucrative, that sounds awful, but a good way to raise money are capital campaigns and just like an annual giving. One of them does it every year at around November, they try and time it to the Tuesday, Giving Tuesday. So we are investigating these types of things to help finance some of our increases. We are limited to what we can spend money on as far as donations go. Especially if we do receive a donation every year specifically targeted to audiobooks, so that must go to audiobooks. That helps us offset that cost, which is, audiobooks are quite expensive. People, I don't think, realize how much.
Does it go to physical audiobooks or like a membership
DVD.
thing to like Audible?
So,
It's the physical audio books, those books on CD that they can play in their car for the people with an older car.
kind of got way off course. And
Sorry. So, all right, on the ancestry thing, do a lot of people use that?
Yes.
Right, well, no, this,
Yeah, it's a genealogy sort of
Right.
thing.
yeah, I know
People
what
do
it is,
go
I pay
through
for it myself, so.
cycles, yes. No, you can use the library version in the library. It's not, you have to actually come to the library to utilize it.
Right.
And we do get it through the Park Street Foundation, the New Hampshire State Library, which does give us a fairly significant discount because we all pull together and we do get a lower price.
But it's based on population size.
And it has been receiving some significant use around the 300th anniversary, so.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and that's why I was asking just how much use it actually got.
But those are the types of things that I think I could see very much having donations, if we can get significant donations, have them offset, especially some of those increases. Some of our costs are fixed, like our library automation. That is tied to the number of books we have in circulation, so we do a very aggressive culling process to keep our number below the trigger amount that would bump us into the next highest category. Again, we can do that for a while. If the town significantly increases in size, we're gonna have a problem with the number of books. That can present issues, but, we are keeping an eye on that.
Is there anything else to report about the increase, the half-time or part-time position to full-time, or?
So this goes to the scheduling issues that, and just retention issues. I spent a little time today going over some numbers. We had a 1-month gap between directors in 2019, 2-month gap in the head of circulation in 2018, 4-month gap again, head of circulation in 2019. 2-year gap of children's librarian duties were divided between the staff and a programming assistant during that time period. Another 1-month gap in the children's librarian, another 1-month gap in the children's librarian, and then a 4+ month gap in the children's librarian this year. These are just the gaps in the positions responsible for programming. We have also had struggled to retain library aid and technical services positions. At some point, it becomes more cost-effective to have the person who is already in the library and working 31.5 hours a week there for 37 hours a week, rather than continuing to circulate through. I think we were fully staffed for 2 weeks in October this
We were.
year, and that was it.
It's nice.
2 weeks. 9 total staff members, but 3 of those are not, so one's there just for children's story time, one is there as a library page, one is just a summer reading assistant. So this essentially leaves the director, the 31-hour person, and then 4 others who are between 15 and 20 hours per week. And of that group, several of them are cobbling together a full-time job by working multiple part-time jobs. So they don't have any flexibility. This gets us to a position where we are staffed at the barest minimum level on most days for most times. So if anyone were to call in sick, we would have to close. We did have one Sunday where we had events scheduled and only 1 employee there, and it just did not work. It was this employee, and she was being pulled a half a dozen different directions. She didn't want to cancel the program, which is what would have had to happen. She knew people would be in the library, so it wasn't a safety issue. But one person needed help with the computer, one person wanted to check out, she was getting, we have to have more than 1 person at the library. And it's just awfully hard to staff.
You guys have statistics on the hours that the library is most often used, like how busy it is different times of day?
We do have gate counts, but that's a daily thing.
It's a daily thing. Since COVID, it varies tremendously. When we have children's story times in the morning, it's very busy in the morning. Tuesday afternoons tend to be busier now than Tuesday mornings sometimes, but then people will surprise us and come in. We don't have any guarantees anymore. We used to know, all right, it's always gonna be busy this day, and it's always, now, I don't know whether people don't think we're open, or if they see a car in the parking lot, that's when all of a sudden we will go from nobody in the library to 10 people, and we start worrying about too many people in the library all over each other. Saturdays tend to be busy. Sundays can start quiet, but then they get busier. The evenings, Wednesday all day, it's busy, busy, busy. Thursdays, it's busy pretty much straight through, and if there's a day that it could be quiet, it's Friday, but then everybody seems to come in Friday afternoon to check out their stuff for the weekend. We don't have any.
We've thought about that, because the easiest solution would be to close on a day that's dead.
Yeah, so one
And-
thing you can do is you can go on Google Maps, and if you click on the library in here, it actually gathers usage statistics by people's cell phones when they dwell at the library, and so it'll give you a histogram here for each day and show you how busy the library is during those times. And so like you said, on Friday, it really drops off in the afternoon. You can see there's almost no usage the last hour, and then during the week, you see very little usage in the first hour. So if one of the solutions here might be just to cut an hour or so off of each day, you could use this data to cut off the least used times of day.
We've actually done that. The library used to open at 9:30, it now opens at 10. We're open 40 hours a week, which is, I think, reasonable. Shaving time off,
It gets difficult for patrons, it gets confusing. If we're consistently opening at 10 and everybody knows we're there at 10, I still have people coming in and banging on the door at 9:30 who remember it from years ago, we're open at 9:30. Yeah, we could certainly try closing, opening up at 11 or something, but I might be there having to tell people who are there thinking it's 10 o'clock.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you do have a sign out front that you can put the hours on.
oh, and we,
And we do.
we do, and we even got the little
The A-frame
A-frame sign to make it more obvious, because, we also have, I used to
The
work
open
retail.
sign
They
out.
slide in right before it closes, which is, fine if they're just grabbing a book, but it's-
We have it, they don't always see it.
Other questions for me?
No, I just think for myself personally, like, my daughters love the library, we're there all the time, but, I don't know if maybe like in the spring or something, we could just knock off some of these siding's not bad, power washing's not bad, just maybe the Friends of the Library, we can get a few spring work days, and that might help, from eating into the budget. I know volunteers is, people aren't volunteering to do things anymore, and that's another thing, but
we, do-
maybe we can knock off some of those things that way, and
one of the
certainly get
trustees,
the safety issues addressed.
yeah, one of the trustees' husband has done a lot of these sorts of jobs for us in the past. It's not that we don't have anyone, it's just all of a sudden we have a lot. And I think that makes a difference. The power washing is something that I very much want to get done. That's inexpensive-ish, comparatively speaking to some of the other things. So yeah, we're all about getting as much done as we possibly can, especially the safety issues. Again, my name is Jennifer Phillips. If anyone has any additional questions that they think of later, I am happy to try and answer them.
Where can we reach you?
What is I have a very long Blaisdell specific email address.
Blaisdell
Yeah,
at gmail.com.
yes.
Kind of on the library website, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Am I late?
you can just
Yeah.
email it to blaisdellml@comcast.
And she'll get it to me. I should have been ready for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You
for
are very
coming.
welcome. Thank you.
Next.
Hello, my name is Sean McLean. I'm the Public Works Director here in the town of Nottingham.
Welcome, Sean.
Thank you.
How would you like me to present this to you? You guys have got several different ways. Would you like to go line by line? Is there something specific that jumps out at you?
375?
I think that might be the last line item in 254.
Yeah, so you got a bunch of different places here, so. What do you want to start with?
We can start right at the top. I've asked to add a full-time employee shared with the recycling and the parks and rec and public works. This position would work with Courtney and myself to take care of her needs that she has with the growing fields demands that are in town now, fill in at the recycling center, and to assist in snow plowing in the wintertime. Next few lines are staying the same. The next increased line would be to do with gravels. And we are seeing a significant increase in gravel usage based on new town roads we've accepted and bringing them up to a more of a standard to eliminate some of the problems that occur where how they were under the emergency lanes before. The next significant increase would be the highway salt line. That's the salt, 26% increase this year in the cost per ton. We use between 1,200 and 1,400 tons. Also in this line, we use stone on our gravel roads in the wintertime for traction. And I've applied the estimated approximate usage of that to this line, which is about $7,000.
So with the sand and the gravel and stone stuff, is there any more, is some of that, can we get out of the gravel pit?
We do use some, but we need to use processed materials, engineered grade, crushed gravels is mostly the cost. The 3/4 inch stone, specific size stones, those need to be run through a machine and processed, which we don't have the capabilities. We have bank run gravel and we have the sand. Those are the products that we have.
I mean, and you're looking for specific sizes.
There's specific sizes we run. We run a 3/4 inch stone, an 1.5 inch stone, a 3/4 inch stone-based crushed gravel, a 3044, which is an 1.5 inch crushed gravel. We use coal patch, which fixes potholes.
Right,
So those are specific things that need to be produced in a quarry.
Leftover salt from last year?
Pardon me?
Do you have any leftover salt from last year?
Yes, we're using it right now, and hopefully we're gonna get through this storm, and we won't have to purchase any until the first of the year.
How much salt can we store?
Probably about 250 tons.
I don't know what that actually means. I mean, is it, like, how much is that for how much we use?
How much,
So,
It's like 10 to a dozen dump trucks full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A 1 ton dump will hold like 3.5 tons.
so not lots.
So maybe you can, like a triaxle, do we have a triaxle or 10?
So we get tractor-trailer loads of salt that come in. Each tractor-trailer load approximately holds between 32 and 33 tons.
Yeah.
And that's how we get dumps.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have a big reserve. We don't keep a big reserve.
No, we just don't have the storage to do it. I mean, we have to keep it undercover and protected because it becomes useless.
Yep.
Okay.
John, as far as the application of the salt goes, is that something that when the truck is moving, the salt is being applied, or is it something that can be switched on and off depending on whether it's a straightaway or a place that needs salt specifically, that you can just use it where it's needed?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The operator has the ability to turn it on and off, and we do that. We'll do spot areas and this and that, but, you know, during a storm or something, everything will get salted and bared out. Then we'll go back, we'll scrape off. If we need to apply some more material in spots that need it, mostly it's shaded areas and stuff, then we'll do that.
You guys shop around for the stone, like call all the different quarries?
Yes, we go between two quarries, Hartman's and Brock's. We were using Deerfield sand and gravel. They just can't keep up with the demand sometimes. Brox is very consistent in that material. In the wintertime, we preferred to use Brox's stone over Hartman stone because it's the different material that is crushed. We found that when we started using it, we were using it out of that quarry in Raymond, and they have a ledge that they're crushing, so it's sharper. There was flat tires.
Like New Market Sand and Gravel,
Yeah.
another one, or the one in Barrington I bought before from them.
So we went to a different product from a different manufacturer, and it's been working perfectly for us.
So between like the additional stone and the highway engineering and consulting, do you have just a ballpark number? What do you think the total increase in spending is due to the new roads that were added at town meeting last year?
I do not have an accurate number off the top of my head. The increase for the engineering number was based on what happened this year. It's going on in Highland Ave to deal with the drainage. So that's why I plugged that number in there, because of the unknowns that could come up.
What's the distribution of number of vehicles to number of employees?
We have more vehicles than employees.
Okay.
But vehicles are specific. We don't drive dump trucks around on a daily basis to run around and cut tree limbs up, pick up brush,
Yep.
and things of that nature. So we have 4 large dump trucks and 2 small vehicles, which one would be in an F-550, one being an F-350, and we have a car. And we have 5 employees, counting myself. Any other questions on the highway budget?
The dump trucks, where are they, 1 tons, and then a triaxle?
No triaxles. We
Okay,
have,
10-wheeler?
we have, yes, we have, right now, we have 3 10-wheelers. We have, last year's budget, we were granted to purchase a new one, which is on order due to the pandemic. We won't take delivery on that until next April, this coming April.
Because it couldn't be constructed,
Pardon me?
because they couldn't build it, like
Correct. Yeah, the factories were shut down, orders
Right,
backed
okay.
up. So that's when that coming. We're not asking for any money for large dump trucks this year. We're looking to replace smaller vehicles.
With the phone service, did you guys move to VoIP too?
Pardon?
Did you guys move to voice over IP with the phone service, or do you have regular analog phones?
We just have that one phone. I just looked at the phone lines, the bill for the last years. I don't know why it was at that, so I dropped it down.
'Cause I know like the town and the school just upgraded to all voice over IP digital phones. I didn't know if you guys had done that too.
No. No. And I'm just the first I'm hearing of that, so.
I don't know if it actually saves money or not. So,
That's about it on that. We can go to solid waste now. Solid waste, the salary line is staying the same.
What line number is that? Just
Uh,
77? All right.
I'm sorry, my pages are different than yours.
That should be the line on the left, but,
Yeah, he has the,
oh,
Here's the old-
he has
because
this one.
it shouldn't be too different. Okay, 270, all right. Solid waste, yep, 278, okay.
You all set now? Okay. So the first 3 lines are all staying the same. Ask for a 18.2% increase. That's based on approximately $15,000 a month that is costing in disposal fees. The increase is a direct reflection of the trucking cost. We may need to adjust that number again, because we don't have the end of the year's numbers on full scope of the transfer station. So, once we get those, we may be back with, more or less. But right now, that was a safe number to plug in based on the estimates for what's going on each month.
And then I heard that tonnage, or the amount that we're throwing out, that's been increasing too?
It had, yes, it has been. But over this last month now, I don't know if it's because of the time of year, things are starting to taper off. Christmas will be another big push, but we've made some different adjustments up there and things, and so we're watching.
Is it fair to say that by stopping people from being able to pick stuff out of the containers, that the amount of waste that we're paying to throw out is going up?
No.
No? I know I'm personally responsible for a few hundred pounds of crap pulled out of those containers each year.
It's more of a safety concern than anything. The insurance company frowns upon that, nobody getting hurt.
Is it something we can do where it says at your own risk? Or
No,
I
it's
don't
not
get yelled
advised.
at?
It's not advised by the town's insurance company. Maintenance cost, we have an increase of 25% up there based on the historical numbers, based on the actual budget numbers that are shown. We have older baler that has been problematic. It is in the CIP for this year to be replaced. If we do, maybe that number will drop off. The Bobcat had some issues on that, and we needed to make some repairs on that. So that's why that cost is where it's at. And then, dues went up to 6. The dues went up because of the actual cost was, budgeted was 500, the actual cost was 597, and I went to 600. So. And the dues is for classroom training, certifications, and things of that nature for the employees.
See the
trucks.
baler,
Baler on there?
the CIP.
Oh, no. We talked about
Yeah.
having a baler on there. We're looking at the CIP report, but I don't remember the baler being on or discussed even about with, Donna was there, Chris, you said you were looking at that for next year?
Yeah, 2022,
For this
I
year?
have my narrative here.
So not in this year's budget, for next year's budget. Well, that
To
was-
replace in
this is for next
2022.
year's budget. This is 2022. So you're talking about, you'd like to have a baler, a new baler,
Yeah,
but it's not part of this budget?
these,
It's not,
I have it in my CIP, I put in for it.
right.
I put in
it-
2 years ago.
Okay.
Cause we're just looking
Yeah,
at, he has
and it's
the
not-
CIP report pulled up from a couple nights ago.
Are we looking to have that come in as a warrant article?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if it's not, right, so, are you looking to have it as a warrant article thing, or?
Yes.
Okay. Were the selectmen aware of this, Tyler? Or you?
I don't know, I don't remember talking about the
Okay. Right.
Cause on the, CIP for the public works, we have the MAC-10, the 550 trucks, road reconstruction and vehicle capital reserve fund, and then that's all the lines that's on the town CIP proposed by department.
Yes, I have it right here.
Okay, no, yeah, that's fine. How much, do you have any numbers for the
Baylor,
replaced? Yeah,
$12,000.
okay.
yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't remember seeing the Battler, so that's why I kind of poked back to see. So, yeah, it's glad you said you were looking for it and, you know, make sure it's on that list.
Okay.
You don't want to have a surprise.
Yeah, maybe we can get with, I'll get with Tony.
Just a side note,
Yep.
like with the library, like elevator. I just asked me if that was on the CIP.
The only
Oh,
thing
as
on,
of maintenance,
the only thing on the CIP is the parking lot reconfiguration and parking.
I'll call.
Okay.
yeah, so, okay, so that's another maintenance issue that needs to take place.
Either this year or next.
Well, does it not work at all, or what's,
Some people get sick.
fun?
That's an issue. Yeah. I don't wanna get stuck out there in the cold right now.
That's an E-ride.
It's only one floor.
Alright.
Are we discussing CIP also in this meeting?
Well,
We
it's
just compared notes because
Right.
we hadn't heard about it before and it wasn't in the, what I had been presented when I met for the
Okay.
CIP committee, so we just wanted to address it and make sure that this was something you were gonna be asking for next year's budget, and
Mm-hmm.
if you were planning on having it be a warrant article, and it sounds like you are, so
Yeah.
the funds, like, you know,
Right.
who's paying for it and all that stuff.
So with that said, is there any other things I can answer for you?
The landfill mowing, is that something that needs to happen on a regular basis for maintenance problem?
We're mandated to mow it twice a year under the closure of it.
Yeah, is that something that the town does, or does that get contracted out?
It gets contracted out to a local contractor, Telco Enterprises does that. They're over there on Dubig Road.
Is there any way to get like prisoners to come do it?
It involves heavy equipment that needs to be used to mow it. So that's why. There's a tractor and a flail mower that's involved.
Gotcha.
Just looking at the highway equipment construction or construct, it's on our line 260. You have budgeted 37,000 both years, or was it? 2021 budget was 37, but you only used 12,730, and then you're asking for $37,000 again for the road grading services and equipment rental. Can you just are y'all expecting to do more of the road grading or equipment rental or anything like that?
Yes, that type of stuff. We rent large vibratory rollers, things of that nature that we don't have to use. So,
And did y'all hire someone to grade the roads like
yes,
last
yes,
year?
we,
How did that work out?
so how it went until the warrant, until the vote on accepting the emergency lanes to town roads. But all the class 5 town gravel roads are being graded by a contractor. The town grader does the emergency lanes. That's how it was done. We had it on the CIP to replace the grader. It got pulled back last year in anticipation of some other needs that were going to be needed by the school or something. It did work out quite well this year, how we set it up. We did not exceed that line, but we intend to keep it that way if we can. We also, no, that's it, excuse me, and then I was going with something else, I'm sorry.
Okay. Just asking.
Well, what's gonna cause the road rating to go from currently 12,730 to 37,000? What specifically is not next year that's not being done this year?
It's the same line
Right.
that I was talking about.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm
No,
trying to,
you're right,
No,
you're
that's
trying,
fine, yeah.
you're trying to clarify the question, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
now, is it the roads we took, the 5 roads that we took over?
Yes,
So, about 20,000 gonna go towards that?
yeah. For those roads, I can't give at this time, I can't give a hard number on that, all right? This is,
Just trying to get a
Yeah.
2 years ago, we spent 17, then 12, and
Right, if there's
So,
any way we can
well,
push that down, or is it
are-
expected to be used?
I guess the question is, are they going to be graded more now that they're town roads as opposed to before when you guys just graded them?
There's a different approach to them now that we are trying to eliminate some of the occurring problems that we have when it rains. And so there will be more material put in, more swales need to be done, more grading will occur. More grading occurred now this year out there because of the significant rains that we had. More gravels were used this year out there. We had tremendous washouts out there. July was a heavy month for rain.
Right, yeah, it was terrible.
are we gonna be getting into putting in more culverts over there?
That will, yes, that will be, I know of 2 culverts right off the top of my head that need to be replaced. And then there's a drainage job going on, there's engineering costs going on a project on Highland Ave. There'll be tree removal there, there'll be a drainage easement sought by a homeowner, catch basins, put in, and new pipes.
Do you guys handle snow removal and like snow shoveling too, or is that a different department?
We, historically, no, department has not shoveled snow. Is there something
Oh, I just looked it up, and the Rockingham County Department of Corrections Superintendent says that free inmate labor is available to all the counties of Rockingham County, but most towns aren't taking advantage of it. They offer essentially free snow cleanup, indoor painting, and things like that, and they have people with specialized skills, and they want people to take advantage of that, so that might be something to look into for
And I agree,
labor-intensive things.
that's something I should touch base with the town administrator about before he went out. He was looking into finding shoveling for around here because the person, Mr. Bascom, who did it before, is not doing it any longer. So I don't know where, town administrator Sterndale is with that, but I can look into that and make him aware of that.
I know that they did use, I assume probably that program to help hoe out the stuff in the back.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Courtney may be able to speak more to that. She has dealt with them on a more regular basis.
Yep, as of right now, they are battling COVID things, and he was going to call me back because we have things like painting and indoor stuff that we were gonna use them for. But I have not heard from them, so I'm not sure if that program is in discussion yet. But they are useful.
Anything else, Sean, that you wanna discuss?
All set? Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Sean.
you.
Appreciate it.
Hello, I'm Courtney Dubal, Recreation Director, for those that I don't know.
That's a big catch, stuff to do with.
Thank you, Michael.
328?
328.
328, everybody.
What?
328. More towards the back, third page from the back.
All right. Would you like me to just start from the top and go down the increases? Okay. So we have so the rec, we have our rec revolving fund, which is separate from our general fund, which is what all of our programming funds are for. So this is just so this past year, we were able to, with those funds, from aftercare and summer camp, get a 3rd position, which is really great. So that's reflected a lot into this budget line, or this budget for training, and certifications and our annual conference for that third employee so that we can keep that person with us trained with the same knowledge that myself and my full-time assistant also gain. So the first line with the increase is our rec dues and conference line. That line went up simply because that is the cost of the conference. So that line covers the conference that we attend in January, and we are able to take our third employee with us for that line. Down to training, we are going to keep that as the same. This year, we did not spend anything because of COVID, and it's been kind of different. We've done a lot of online training, so a lot of that's been free to us because of the association costs. But we'd like to keep that because what we have changed, we used to staff our town beach with full-time lifeguards during the summer. COVID changed that for us as well. We ended up pulling those staff out because we can't, just like the library, we are having a very hard time finding staff. The past 2 years has been really difficult for that part-time level staff. We are hopeful, though, that as things pick up, we've been able to bring back programming pretty much to where it was, which is great. Our only obstacle is staffing, which if we can find additional staff, our program numbers will go back to where they were, which is great. So with that line, with that rec training line, we hope this summer to be able to train a couple kids to help us with our lifeguarding at the town beach so that we're able to bring our camp down there this year to utilize that space. So that's why that line is staying the same. Moving down to mowing, with the addition of Marston property and the progress that we have seen over there in the recent weeks, we anticipate that we are going to need to mow that property more so that people can use those fields. So that line has jumped up significantly. That also includes money and funds for fertilizing and seeding, which we don't have set numbers on that, but I looked back at last year's line to what we spent, and my best guess was about $5,000 for that. But essentially, our goal as the rec department is to utilize Marston as much as we can. This year, we utilized it with flag football. The Trails Committee and us have been working hard to get the trails used and blazed, and we've had cleanups over there. So we hope, and we've had traffic there this year, we hope next year it's even better. So mowing those additions, and we also, in that same line, mow the town facilities, mow the community fields, and that, and we contract that out, so. The rec equipment supply and maintenance line, we have had just a slight rise in porta potties, but also with the addition of Marston and people using that space, we need to put facilities out there as well. So that's why that cost has gone up. I've also created a rotating needs list for the equipment and the outdoor things like picnic tables, trash cans, things that keep the properties clean. We work really well with Sean and Highway. They help us take those they help remove the trash from those facilities. But we have to get those onto Marston for next year, specifically for when we use it for flag football and things like that. We have picnic tables at all the facilities here, the playground, the town beach. Those things age out, those things break. We've never had a plan in place as of yet, and hopefully this kind of helps us have those things more on a, on a rotating basis. Yeah.
You guys own or rent the porta potties?
We rent them.
If there's something that's gonna be kept around year round, does it make sense to purchase them and just pay to have them emptied?
I never thought about that. We use Emmy's. She's a local right in town. She's fantastic. She gives us a really good deal too. I think
Is the long-term plan to have bathrooms down there?
I have to check my plans. I think at some point there is a plan for that. I think that's pretty far ways out.
So if it's pretty far away out, that it's
Yeah.
fair to say that there's gonna be porta potties sitting there for many years to come. It might
Yep.
make sense to just purchase some.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may or may not be
Probably
You know, to-
minimal.
right, cause it's probably the emptying and cleaning service that costs the
It's a
most.
lot more, like, I'm sure the rental
Right,
fee is probably
right.
not that bad.
So it's worth investigating.
Yeah, worth a look.
Yeah. I can definitely
Depending
do
on
that.
when you, yeah, depending on when you want those hard bathrooms.
Well, you also may be able to purchase some more semi-permanent, larger ones that people that rent them out don't have because they're not as portable.
Mhm.
Ones that don't have to be emptied as often or something like that.
Definitely look into that. You want me to continue?
Sure.
Okay. We have no changes into the program line. That line holds our senior luncheons. That line is for summer concert series. Any big event, Halloween, Christmas, that stuff, that's where all of that money is held, for those programs. So we're gonna keep that the same this year. Our rec office supply line went up just a little bit. We have added that third employee, like I said, so we are using more printer ink, we're using more daily office supplies. So that's, our productivity is a little bit higher, so that's why that line needs to be increased. We have our own printer in our own office, so those types of materials, that's separate from what we use with the town office. And in our equipment line, we were looking at a automatic beach gate. For years, we have had an employee who's been very loyal and who opens the beach gate every morning and every night. But I am not sure how long that will last. He is, still on board as of right now. But for future, that is a very hard position that I don't think we'll be able to fill. It's hours that open during our busiest time of the year at about 9 o'clock, and they close the gates at about 7 or 8. So it's kind of one of those things that I don't have physical staff that can make that happen. So we looked at a different option, and this beach gate is $7,000. It's solar paneled and will most likely be enough strength. We looked at what it would cost to get electricity to the beach entrance, and it was lots of money right now. So this was kind of the best option and something that we looked into. So that's what that's the jump that you see, is that automatic gate.
Is that the cost of installation and a new gate and everything?
Yep,
Okay, I was wondering how you got that high.
yep.
How's it work exactly when you approach the gate?
So it will, right now, it's kind of an honor system. And so it would still continue to be an honor system, and we'd hope that townspeople would still go get their sticker, that from here. But basically, we'd open it once a day, and then we'd close it at the end of the day. So we wouldn't have to power it all day long to open and close it, but it would open just on its own. It would be set on a timer. I could give codes to police, fire, to everyone that needs it, who could access it. We've had a lot of problems the past couple years with people cutting the lock, cars getting stuck. We have people who would like the gate open longer, but it's hard to ask somebody on their own time to close the gate at 9 p.m.
Have you looked at just modifying the existing gate with an opener?
No, we have not looked into that.
Because the gate openers themselves are not all that expensive. I have a pretty heavy duty one. It was $600 or so. And then you would need a solar panel and then a timer for it.
That might be a better option. I can look into that.
Because a lot of the cost is, if you got spec'd for a whole new gate installation, is setting concrete posts and a strong steel gate and everything and all that. That's a lot of work. The actual hooking up of a gate opener is not that bad.
I'll look into that too, that option. But it's definitely something that we're gonna want to see in the next, I would say, a couple of years. It would meet the needs of the community. It would also save us the time and energy that it takes to police that, if you will. That's been a hard, and that's something that we won't be able to staff. It's just A
Sounds like
unique
it'll also
position.
save literally policing it. If the police have to come let people out, they get stuck in there.
Yes, and that's a pain.
I'm sure they'd appreciate less work.
Yes,
Is it pretty heavy duty then?
yes,
Something to last, because I know
I just
pulling
wanted to
their
get
boats in and out, they
vandalized.
usually run into the gate.
Yep.
You know, one of those gates and it's always broken, you know what I mean?
yep,
Fixing it or put some concrete cement posts, and, you know, just to protect it maybe better.
yeah, exactly.
Electronics and stuff.
And hopefully, you know, that's a place where boats and stuff shouldn't be going down,
Right, I know
so
that,
we
right.
hope that that doesn't happen. Again, that's a hard property that we're trying to figure out the right way to staff, because it's either we go full out and staff it with a gatekeeper, and we have people checking stickers, and we do all of that, but that's a lot of money to spend with staffing. Or it's kind of like, do we do it use at your own risk? And those are bigger questions for that property with what we want to do.
I think no staffing and use at your own risk has worked out pretty well for many years.
Yeah, I agree. I think leaving the gate open all night long, though, would cause some problems. We have seen people sneak in, and when the gate is shut, we've had issues, and these two have responded to issues too. So we have teenagers that go down and swim to the island, and I've gone down and had to call 911. It's just people will go down there, they'll find a way to get there either way, but this solution would help most people from not going down there late at night. Yeah. And those are my big items. Does anyone have any other questions?
Can you talk a little about the rec revolving fund? Is there kind of a surplus or balance that sits in that to allow, you know, the ins and outs of program fees, or what's the status of it?
We try to have a little bit, but the goal of the rec revolving fund is that we charge enough money to cover the costs of what we have. Yes, there's a little bit of a fund in there, because that's what allows us to try new programs. And one year we did an adventure camp for teens, and I looked at the budget and realized we had about a $10,000 loss, but that was the price of that program. So that fund kind of allows us to do those things without a huge impact to our budget, but then also okay, we got to recoup that money, how we're going to do that the following year. So just so you guys kind of have it, I pulled the numbers from 2019, 2020 to this year. We, in 2019, we brought in about $173,000. And that was summer camp, and that was the beginning to our after-school program, which we had gotten in 2019. We had about 80 kids signed up for aftercare. Then we had 130 in the summertime, which was our highest numbers that I've seen since I've been here. When I first got here as the assistant, we had about 50 kids in our summer camp. So that was really great, and we were on a huge upswing. COVID happened, everything went down. So the money that we brought in for rec revolving in 2020 was about 61,000. So that's a huge difference from where we were. But when we had when we had that big number, I had 23 to 30 staff members we were also paying out of there. So really, we try to make enough where I at least have about 20 or 30,000 for room, but honestly, it evens out pretty close when we get all of the staff and everything's working out. So then this year we're back. We have aftercare at 50 due to lack of staff. So we're not making our full. We have still 15 kids on the wait list with aftercare right now, but this summer we were able to come back with about 100 kids a day at summer camp. So that was big. And we're at this year about at 153. So we've come back up, and in my opinion, we've covered those costs that we lost, which is great. I was happy to see that as well. So that's kind of how that works. But basically everything out of rec revolving is self-generated. So if we raise money with pickup basketball, those funds we try to put back into pickup basketball. Money for summer camp, we have a whole budget sheet. We cover costs of new supply, new equipment, arts and crafts. This year is gonna look a lot different with COVID and with the numbers scaled back and with the lack of staff. and with the cost of transportation up with buses and field trips, things are gonna be really, really, I think, hard to figure out. We're gonna have to kind of get back, not go back full board with field trips. We'll have to figure out what those costs look like, but try not to get a hit like we did 2 years ago is the goal.
What about things like sponsorships for the concerts and stuff? Does that go into the revolving funds, or is it just general revenue, or?
General revenue. So I try to use all of those funds. Well, I use all those funds to put back into those programs. So they're broken out so that we can add a little bit more to those programs. So summer concert series this year, we added a make your own floral bouquet. And so the funds that we used from sponsors, that covered the cost of their signage. It also helped provide the little something extra for those events as well.
Does anybody else have any more questions for Courtney?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jay Vilchak. I'm the Fire Chief and Emergency Management Director for the town of Nottingham. Before I sit down and my knee gets sore again,
Stand up if you want.
Yeah.
I'll have a seat, but I may be here a while. I just want to pass. You can sign the last sheet and turn it in to your full-fledged members. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Careful
Watch
on
your
all
step,
that.
yeah, watch your step there.
Thanks.
This has been revised since Monday. It's all November's.
I have a call one here.
I passed out a
You do?
similar
Oh,
set of metrics at the selectmen meeting on Monday evening, but like I said, this has been revised. It includes November results. And before we get into budget, I just wanted to give some background, maybe give you a picture of where we're at. As of noon today, we've had 35 calls for service so far in the month of December, and our total number for the year as of noon is 652. Second page just shows a little snapshot of the totals of those calls for the month of November, and the last column is shows for the month, okay? Months January through November. That's why it's different than 652, okay? That's our call volume and breakdown. The last page, just to put in perspective, are our metrics from January to November 30th, from the calendar year '09 through the current year. I'll show you where we are with our tempo, okay? So, What do you think should increase, dramatic increase this year? population, maybe a little bit of the COVID area, That's what you call because of COVID? recently, we've, yes, I could say that, okay? I could say, several a week, okay? That sort of stuff, yes. Okay, I'm not sure if there's any question. I'll wait for that.
Are there other services that are not getting called anymore, which is resulting in more calls? Like, are there private ambulance services that people used to call?
Negative, no.
Okay.
In the state of New Hampshire, you can't, in the state of New Hampshire, I'll just give you Nottingham. Nottingham Fire Rescue is primarily responsible for all transports within the town. A private ambulance can't come in here, except for transfer, I should say. If somebody has to move from the hospital or that sort of stuff, they're for transfers only. But any type of emergency service, when you dial 911 or you request an ambulance through any means, it's gonna come to Nottingham Fire Rescue, okay? There's no competition like that within the town, okay? Some towns do contract with private ambulance where it works, and some fire departments don't transport, so that's just the way it is in the state of New Hampshire, so.
To that, is there ever a situation where the ambulance is already en route to hospital with a patient and another urgent call comes in that
Absolutely,
you
sir.
have to get mutual aid from a surrounding town?
Absolutely, absolutely, that happens, and I don't have metrics on it, but I could pull all the metrics out, how many times a year that happens. Back-to-back type calls.
Sure.
We seem to have an increase in that situation in town. It goes up with population and number of calls. We do, we're organized at, through our dispatch center, we have pre-programmed, you heard this buzzword before, run cards, who is identified for our second and third due ambulance. So if we're out on a call, the dispatch center tones us, and along with tones who we have identified as a neighboring town who could take that call. We go out to second and third due services in that area. Now, one of the unique things about where we are in our area, Nottingham transports, Northwood transports, Deerfield does not transport, they use Raymond. Barrington transports, Stratford transports, Lee does not transport, okay, they contract with McGregor. Epping transports and Raymond transports. So there are some holes in our local coverage at towns that can't provide that mutual aid capability. And being such, and I don't want to, that's why I was going to go last, because I got a lot, I can talk about this all night long if you like. Those run cards are arranged in the ambulance and EMS area by streets to be able to cover those holes. Where in the fire area we have pre-programmed alarm cards for different zones in town. There's 6 due to the geographic area. We have to use a different scheme because some of the neighboring towns can't help in that area. And Mike, to go along with that point, and I don't want to bore everybody with it, I'd encourage you to use your phone and listen to some of the Rockingham dispatch, some of the scanner world stuff out there, and notice where we are as a country, a society, with as far as one town requesting mutual aid doesn't wreak havoc, but it puts a bigger burden on the area than it did in the past, okay, because of participation. There's not as many people doing it anymore. 2 towns that need a mutual aid ambulance could really cause a problem where we're reaching out further, okay, so the response time is greater. It's not as it's not the way it used to be, and I don't mean to, as far as because of the lack of depth within these organizations, okay, that they can't staff 3 ambulances where some towns used to be able to staff multiple ambulances. They can't staff that second ambulance anymore, so they have to go to another town. And lo and behold, Murphy comes in the room and says, you need an ambulance in your town, so it snowballs, okay? So I hope I didn't go overboard on that one. No. That's the reality, but
Thank you. I mean, it's obvious that the ambulance calls are, the majority, I mean, more than half,
yes.
so.
And that's consistent with, the national average used to be somewhere around 2/3, so we see between half and 2/3 on a yearly basis. Certainly, the EMS portion is our busier line of work, that's for sure.
How many of the ambulance calls are people that don't necessarily need a full-blown ambulance, they just need a ride to the hospital?
I can't, when they dial 911,
Well, I'm asking, so
yeah.
one of the questions is just to have another ambulance and everything.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if there's not a place for kind of an ambulance light, which just a regular vehicle with some medical supplies, not a full-blown ambulance for people that are stable and not at any risk of, their situation worsening. They just need to get to one of the hospitals that's, say, an hour away.
How do you identify it?
You'd have to have someone come
Well,
out
the
and
medical
identify
experts.
first,
Right.
then transport.
Well,
For example, if I broke my leg,
It's 911, so they
Yeah.
just
We treat it all as though, okay, yeah.
Medical emergency.
Right, but you go to the house, you say, okay, they broke their leg, they get to the hospital. You either have to take the whole ambulance to the hospital, wherever it is, or you could say, you know, grab the Ford Explorer and go take them over, and that way the ambulance stays here in town and ready for a call.
Yeah, that doesn't really fit the state's protocols though, sir. It doesn't, as far as, you know, taking somebody in it has to be a licensed transport vehicle. And in order to be a transport vehicle, it has to meet the minimum staffing and outfitting, okay? So there is no provision right now in the state licensing to have a light vehicle that's only gonna handle ambulatory, non-respiratory, you know, that sort of, okay, that's not the way it works. If you call an ambulance, that ambulance is gonna take you to the hospital, it's gonna have a bare minimum, they're gonna be, you know, outfitted to that at least that bare minimum amount. It's a creative idea, but,
It's government regulation, so, yep.
yeah.
That's all you have to say, I understand.
Yeah.
When Exeter comes out, they just have, like medicine, right? When Exeter comes out to help out, Exeter Hospital, they come in their Ford Explorer, it's just to transport like medication, right? Like if they need a certain type of medication on the scene or on the way to.
They provide a paramedic service, and at the paramedic level, we did have paramedics on board our department, we don't anymore. They got a different scope of tools they could use, and some of them are in the medication area, some of them are in training and even hardware, okay? Okay. We right now, we're staffed at both DMT and the advanced level. We don't have any paramedics. We did have paramedics a couple of years ago, but they've moved on to different towns and stuff.
Do we get enough serious medical calls to warrant having a paramedic?
I take a paramedic, yeah, seriously, yes, yep.
Is it a question of just getting one, or is it a
Training?
pay thing?
Pay, availability, and the hiring portion of it, certainly. That would change our pay structure for sure, okay? Right now, our paramedic, our primary, like you said, our primary paramedic resources are Resource Hospital, which is Exeter Hospital. But there are times, Exeter Hospital, you know, services everybody from Seacoast, right, directly on the Seacoast, to Candia right now. So they could be down in Plastow or down in, say, Newton or something like that, and coming to Nottingham, they're not gonna meet us. So we'll reach for another resource that's available, and consequently, those resources do, you know, bill kind of stuff, where if it's a fire department that has a paramedic on duty, or another service like McGregor. Again, it depends on geography. Everybody knows Nottingham's 49 square miles. Most of our transports to the hospital are 17, 20 some miles. We've got a long, trip here, so we try to, logistically, we try to work it out with who's along the way and don't have to wait for anybody, or pick up a paramedic from Exeter Fire Department, pick up a paramedic once in a while from Epsom and or Concord. We've been intercepted with the Concord Fire Department if we're going to Concord, that direction. You know, a lot of it has to do with situational awareness at the time, to know who's busy, who's not, and, you know, working, you know. Okay.
I have to agree. If you call for an ambulance, I mean, if you call 911, you need an ambulance. You know what I mean?
Right.
More or less, you know, if you're gonna call, you need that. You know, if you have a broken leg and my daughter has a, you know, if I get in the car and drive her to the hospital, you know what I mean? But if you know something serious, you're gonna call.
Yeah. You're home alone.
I don't think you should assume everyone who calls 911 has a real emergency, though.
You're absolutely true, and I'm not,
Yeah.
I can't, you know, and I can't say
Right,
a
you
percentage and
can't.
stuff. Anybody that calls, you know, we respond as though, it's like fire alarm activation. It's
Yeah.
all the real thing.
You don't
Okay,
know
our
till you
next
get there.
call is our most
Right.
important call, and, okay, so. Okay, part of the 911 sequence is where they categorized by calls, medical calls by level of importance, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Omega calls like that. The higher the letter, an Alpha call, a Bravo call, a Delta call, Charlie call, it depends on the level of emergency, should I say. Bravo and higher calls automatically warrant a paramedic is requested at the same time. So there is some of that triage and categorization done at the 911 center when they take the call. So, like I said, I could talk all night about that. Ladies and gentlemen, how would you like to do it? I'm not sure, I'm gonna start off by, I'm not sure which vintage budget you're looking at, so,
Is there an extra one up there?
Yeah, that's, you know,
some of the numbers may have changed, because I'm not gonna see them all.
Yep, that's the one we're looking at.
Like 195.
There we go.
Yep, that's where it
Okay.
starts.
I'm gonna hit any that have changes unless there are questions, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna start, start right off the bat with the full-time line. I'm showing a 41.9% increase, 184,500 is the requested amount. And that's for, increasing the staffing. Right now, we are funded for 3 full-time positions, of which 2 are only filled, okay? This increased to an additional 3 full-time positions. This is also not a full year's worth. This is based on, bringing the 3 additional positions online, last third of the year, okay? Assuming that it were approved at town meeting in the March timeframe, or during the vote in March timeframe, by the time advertised and, through the process of hiring physicals and things like that, I wouldn't envision them being on staff until like September at the earliest. So this sequenced, it shows 3 full-time that we have slots for the entire year, and the additional 3 being added, for at the, September timeframe.
Just so I can just clarify, so that 54,500, that would be 3 full-time employees for 1/3 of a year, is that?
No, that would be 6 full-time employees for 1/3 of the year, and 3 for the other 2/3 of the year.
So what is so just kind of, because it's very confusing with having it spread over 2 years.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
going forward, like next year, what is the total increase in the salary line by moving to having
I did
6
a
full-time
WAG
people?
for 2023 for 6 full-time full year. Actually, town administrator had requested that, and that was a good idea. I'm showing roughly $290,000 in 2023. If we went to 6, it would be at $290,000. It's an all or nothing thing. We can't turn it on one year and turn it off the next year.
No,
Yeah.
I know you've probably thought through this really hard and stuff, but is there any creative ways we could do by like taking on 1 this year, like going to 4, and
Okay.
like kind of doing that kind of increase?
Okay, the goal here is to provide round-the-clock coverage for as many days out of the year. Right now, with our staff of 3, and it's been only 2 since I'd say January, February. Our 3rd hire is Air Guard, and he was deployed in January, February, and he's not expected back till after the holidays this year. And the rumor is he's got an offer in one of the boutique departments, and he may not come back anyway, okay? But anyway, I just want to paint the picture right now.
Yeah.
Right now, I have 2 full-time employees that are scheduled for 40 hours a week. They work 4 10s. They've been working 60 hours a week, covering Monday through Sunday, doubling up. Both of them are on Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. One works Saturday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the other works Sunday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is totally not sustainable.
Sustainable.
You
Not
can't do
enough.
that, can't do that forever, burnout, whatever, you
Yeah.
can't do that forever. The strategy with the 3 new full-time employees is there's several aspects to it. It would give us two on 24-hour shifts, and then they would be off for 2 days, and then the next shift would work, and they'd be off for 2 days, more in line with the normal fire department scheduling routine, okay? Having 6 on board gives us 6 days. It would be Monday through Saturday, 24 hours a day. There would be 2 people. that in no way is enough to fight a fire. They're basically the initial team.
Show up,
and
right.
and they're EMTs, obviously, so they provide EMS service 24 hours a day. The Sunday coverage will be covered by per diem folks, which are either call people on our department or full-time career members from other departments that are looking to pick up a shift somewhere. Currently, we do have some per diem in our schedule now, like 4 hours, 4 hours from 6 to 10 during the work week. That's not enticing to people to come from any distance to work 4 hours one night, okay? That's why, it's hard to fill those shifts. We don't have the duration for them. The creativity, one person isn't gonna help stop the bleeding in that area, okay?
Yeah, it's just something that, cause it's a big change to
Absolutely.
basically double staff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a big change, and I mean, if you look at it with those numbers of it going up to 290,000 over what last year's budget was 130, that's 123% change. So, I mean, I guess the real question is just like, do we need it? Is it worth it? I mean, your budget overall, like if you look at this, proposed budget here is $400,000. That's only $80 per person. So, I mean, we get fire and rescue. It's a pretty good deal. It's just, I think we just have to weigh whether or not it's a necessary and prudent thing to do. Is it driven at all by requests from fire insurance companies? Like, would we as townspeople see a discount on our fire insurance because of the increased staffing, because you'd have faster response times and things like that?
Minor, it would be limited to probably folks within the immediate area of the fire station. There's other factors, your rating, okay, for the town, and distance is one of them, water supply, number of full-time employees, and response times. Unfortunately, like I said, 49 square miles, most of Nottingham isn't gonna benefit from, the response time. Yes, sir.
If I look at this year's proposed budget,
Yep,
between the full-time salary, the overtime, and the part-time salary,
yep,
that adds up to $254,000.
yep.
So next year, you're projecting $290,000, but that's just line item number one, I think.
That is correct, sir.
So can I feel assured that those other two line items are gonna be minimal?
Overtime, I'm requesting 15,000, because there's still gonna be a need for unplanned overtime, calls that come in at the end of the shift, and/or large events where they get called back in or stay. The part-time line, again, is I'm requesting 55,000 for next year, because we're gonna be paying 48 hours on a Sunday for a part-time, coverage on a Sunday for 52 weeks, okay? The other part-time, use of part-time would be for vacation days, sick days, training, when I had someone that can work that shift when the regular shift person is off to fill that shift. So the total package there for this would be $15,000 and $55,000 for this year coming up for.
I was thinking next year. But when
Okay.
When you have your six full-time, I would expect that those other two line items, well, overtime, I guess, will always be there. But the part-time item, I would hope, is the 55,000.
Okay, my WAG again for 2023 is 15 and 55 for those, okay? Again, that's
With six full-timers, you don't have the staff to do the Sundays? Which you take out of
Not the way he just explained it.
negative, no.
Yeah,
No, because their work week would schedule, right now, they work 45, they can work up to 45 hours before they get time and a half. That would be their normal. They work 40 is scheduled, 5 for meetings and/or training. We don't pay time and a half. Anything out of 46th hour, they get time and a half. That would have to change when we go to the 24-hour shift, where 48 hours is their normal scheduled work week, and everything above, would be overtime, okay? And the state of New Hampshire, I think it's 52 hours for a firefighter. You can work up to 52 hours before you get time and a half, okay? So,
Jeez.
48 hours, that's like the phone calls and all that.
yep,
I'm in there, in the apartment, 48 hours straight.
No, you're there for 24. Yes, 24.
So did we get paid for sleeping there too, or?
Absolutely, you're there 24.
Yeah.
So, you know, after, there would have to be a policy, like most full-time, round-the-clock departments, where after 7 PM, it's your time. You could study, you could watch TV, that sort of stuff, but you're,
On
okay?
call
You're
at the
at
place.
premise.
Yeah.
So I wanna know, I mean, would it save us money if there's 6 of them, and then we have 7 days to cover? They don't rotate, whatever it is, a couple weeks, you know, 3 of them take Sunday as well. Does that save us money from doing the 55,000 or whatever?
You have to figure out what their overtime rate would be for that 24 hours, okay? They would be getting overtime for that extra,
So either way,
that
it
extra
would-
day, okay?
So next year, the salaries will be 360K. On those 3 items,
Add it all together.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, yep.
I had a question, 'cause I know we're not very good with retaining the employees after we train them. What are we paying our firefighters in comparison to the other towns around us?
The pay, right now, we're in the process of bringing the pay in line with other towns, but one of the major factors that I found on exit interviews is the schedule, okay? It's the schedule. Most firefighters, in the area are on a 24-hour shift. It's more desirable for other opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
I understand
and
that.
that's huge in the recruitment process, and I think it'll aid in the retention. And again, our current, you know, we don't move on to this, it's probably gonna be the nexus for another turnover within our department.
Right, I'm just trying to think of,
Yep.
would it be better to hire the other 3 or compensate the 2 or 3 that we have now in line with the other towns, so we can at least retain the 3, because we're only staffing 2 out of the 3 positions, you know? What if we allot this money for 3 other firefighters and, nobody wants to play, you know?
That I can't crystal ball whether, you know, when I'm gonna get there, but I know that I would be confident saying that the 24-hour shift opportunity
Would be a game
may
changer.
open a different, yes. But I'm gonna give you the other example, that the hiring of firefighters throughout the state is, there's openings everywhere. And I refer to them as the larger departments, the boutique departments that you had to know somebody or have the same name to get into it 10 years
Alright.
ago. They're hiring people with less than a year experience. People now, they're hiring even at lower certification levels and meeting the state's minimum, but not to what the standards used to be to get people in, okay? We've had people that left to go to these better opportunity departments in less than a year in Nottingham, which,
Right.
you know, it was unheard of before, so, but they're hiring people right off the street too,
Would
so.
you consider, I think somebody brought it up last time, maybe like a contract, like you'd have to, if we paid for you to go to school to train, you have to stay with Nottingham for 2 years, so we can at least get our, you know, get our money's worth out of you.
That would work if there were any training that were added after they're hired. See, the state has minimum training requirements, and we don't pay for those basic, firefighter 1, fire 2 within the 2nd year, and EMT. We're hiring them at that level. They're no
Okay.
good, they're, you know,
So we're not
they're
paying for
not
them to do
much.
that.
Yeah, we don't pay, you have to have that level plus a CPAT to be eligible to be classified as a career firefighter in the state of New Hampshire, okay? There's certain, you know, we don't pay for that. We'll pay for their advanced, and like you had mentioned, sir, about paramedic, you know, I've had that discussion with previous, firefighters that are with us about, you know, the paramedic thing. Maybe we could work something with the town to get you into paramedic school, which is a multi-year commitment to get that qualification for that contract for service. Unfortunately, those folks have moved on to Somersworth and Dover, and this gentleman right now is a paramedic in Dover. Another gentleman is a paramedic in Portsmouth that I've had that conversation with. So they've moved on to the departments that have the schedule, the advancement capability, and the overtime. You know, $15,000 in overtime is nothing in a city department. You know,
Yeah.
one firefighter is making that a year, okay? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a riddle that, okay, so, it's a riddle there,
Are
okay?
all three of the current people all amenable to be moving to this new shift?
24, they encourage it, okay, yes.
We're not gonna lose somebody over.
Oh, no,
Okay.
no, sir, no, sir.
Just
I mean,
checking.
It's the other way, really, no, it's the other way, seriously. That's been one of the recurring, like I said, exit interview things, saying if you
It's
had
nice.
to.
224s, I'd take that any day. I mean, we're on 410s,
Yeah.
right? And if we were on 8s again, I bet you a lot of people would leave.
Yeah.
Especially on midnights, they're not interested in that.
Yeah.
So, we're looking for 12s, that's hard to get.
These new guys, they come in day one, so that day one, they're working, they're not, they leave, they were sent to school for a month, whatever, they're ready to go.
They would be on probation for a minimum of 6 months for that. They also have a probationary manual and a program that we go through where they would be paired with one of the 3 existing firefighters, so they learn our apparatus, our town, that sort of stuff. But as far as qualifications for firefighting and EMS, they're licensed. That's one of the requirements. They're licensed as a provider in the state of New Hampshire and nationally certified. They don't come in without those qualifications. So beyond becoming familiar with the town and our apparatus, they have the skills and the knowledge and the certifications to provide that medical care and firefighting techniques, okay, shall I say. See, some of the needs, it's unhealthy and unsustainable to continue that overtime pace that we have right now. We can't do that. Our call tempo is increasing. You look in the future, the development within the town here, it's only gonna go up, okay? I had 20-some houses here, there's, look around, okay? There's also Route 4, some development going on in terms of warehousing and/or office space, which may change the complexion of the Route 4 corridor in terms of businesses, which are only gonna mean more calls for us, okay? And that's it. Right now, my department is, I use that term, and I don't use it lightly, we're at critical mass with staffing, these are, the fire department used to be able to, handle stuff 24/7, 365 through goodwill. People would come out, volunteer days. You don't have that. We can't hire people. You heard the other staff saying they can't hire people for paid positions, never mind one that's getting a stipend and/or, minimal compensation. There's not people knocking down the doors these days, okay? That's it. When we do recruit in that area, sometimes you get 3 or 4 people at a time, maybe one will make it through the classroom portion and, in the call area, and the certification, and maybe a year or 2, and it's not as popular as it was in the past. I've been saying this, that in 10 years, we're gonna have to do something, as far as how we're gonna staff these things, and we're there. We're there that we have to make a decision, because, we don't have the depth right now to maintain this tempo, and certainly not to increase it in the future, that's for sure. What we did do recently is try to give some stability to the call forces by organizing them into different companies that would cover the overnight, okay? We were up to 5 at one time when we had the staffing, now we're down to barely 4. We got 3 that are solid, that's it during the week. So we have a company, we have a group of people, a minimum of 2 EMTs, that are on Wednesday nights from 10 p.m. till 5, from home, okay? They're not at the station, from home, but they're responsible for the initial response. And that handles most of the calls that are the broken leg, the non-code, any motor vehicle fire. It includes more help, that's for sure. But there's an initial response, and what that does is that avoids burning out the call people, because the ones that are dedicated are coming out, okay, it's all right one night to lose your sleep and go to your job the next day. It gets harder the next day, and the third day, you're dangerous, okay? It's dangerous, okay? So we've given that we've organized in that sense. But with the dwindling numbers, we're not gonna be able to sustain that. And that's the bottom line with it, so that's it. I gotta preface this entire budget here with the exception of the increase in the staffing has been influenced by inflation, by the call volume, by vendors. You know, as we're in this COVID thing, I've had vendors that I've used for 10 years or whatever that are no longer doing it. They've put us in a different posture where we have to go out and look for other vendors and/or testing facilities that do our testing, and the prices obviously are going up. So we've had significant logistic challenges over the last year, 2 years here, especially this year. The budget that I'm showing for this year that's ending has been challenged in areas to meet our needs, okay? So I can go into more detail in the rest of those. Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the actuals for this year.
Okay, that's a good question, because I'm gonna preference this right now.
I'm looking at your budget for.
Yep. Which one?
Example, 213.
Could you tell me, let's see,
Supplies.
Supplies and
Yeah, I was
equipment.
looking at that.
okay,
too.
supplies and equipment.
$239, and you're asking for 9,000.
Okay, on supplies and equipment, as of today, I'm showing there's a $621, okay? A lot of the funds, you're seeing early fourth quarter numbers in there. A lot of those funds were fenced because I didn't know where we were going for the end of the year. So there have been purchases that have been made in a lot of these lines. And if you want me to clarify, just ask, you know, if you see a high unexpended line there, like the one I'm saying right there, I'm showing it's gonna end up at $621 right now in that line, based on what the expense, what's been expended since those numbers you have there, okay? I'm gonna show you another one, and we're gonna bounce around, is like the vehicle maintenance line. The majority of my vehicle maintenance all occurs in testing and certification for things like ladders, hoses, and pumps in the last quarter of the year. My safety inspections are done in September, so a lot of the money is not expended until I get through those have to expenses. $8,000 roughly of that maintenance line for the big trucks is already expended for, like I said, the ladders, hoses, testing, inspections, that sort of stuff, so.
When did your year start?
I run the same fiscal year as the town, January through December 31st. Yes, calendar year, Tyler. And the numbers over in that line, if anybody, you know, want to question where we're at, I could tell you what I see in that line as of today, okay, so.
I was looking at all the different departments in town, but you're the only one, with a police probably, good thing that you, for an increase in fuel, gas and diesel.
It's gone up over the years, you can see.
Yeah. Again, yes. Mr. Decker and I had this discussion last year about fuel when we ended up, remember what gallons? I can tell you how many gallons I use. I can't tell you what the cost is gonna be, okay? I got a pretty
Well,
good
and that's
handle
important, because we can take the gallons and kind of,
what it is today.
yeah,
Yep. I got a pretty good history on the fuel, but yes. Shall we move down to the other increases that I'm showing? Okay,
One thing, so when, they're talking about like the equipment maintenance,
yeah,
radio maintenance,
yeah.
they spent $656, so we could plan on you could be spending up to $2,200 before the year.
Equipment maintenance, I'm showing as of today, equipment maintenance, I have a deficit of $319, okay? Which has to come out of one of the other lines. That line there pays for such things as, AED pads, defibrillator pads, AED maintenance, and replacement AEDs. The fire department manages 19 AEDs within the town. Besides what's on our apparatus in the public buildings, we manage, we maintain them, okay? Give you an idea, we also, out of this line, we buy defibrillator pads for our LP-15. So, give you an idea where our medical, our tempo is. Some of these pads here, while we're in there negative, Some of them have expired because they have a shelf life, but some of them because they've been used, okay? So, that's what that line covers basically are those AED supplies. But I'm showing a negative 319 based on my latest, invoices.
How old are these actuals?
You have to ask,
How old
These
are they?
actuals represent what date?
I thought that they should have been like current as of,
Cause that would help us determine if it's too
Yeah.
much or like,
nope,
like the
which is
the
why, you
hydrant.
know, why we don't make the final decision till we see the year-end one. You know?
The hydrant maintenance, is that like every other year?
no, hydrant maintenance, involves things like replacing the signs, the painting, and any kind of fixtures that get broken. What I see with the budget as of today, because of shortfalls and other, I'm gonna have $198 left in that hydrant line, okay? That's a,
Right.
radio maintenance, that was another question, you know, I know it went up, what, $500, is that correct? Okay, I'm showing a negative $71 balance, because there were 2 portables that were purchased earlier in the year that weren't delivered until a month or so ago, and now the invoice has been paid on those. So, you know, those actuals, be careful, those actuals are not truly representative of where we
Okay,
are
good.
today,
I'm glad you told
okay?
us that.
Yes, and again,
Yeah, cause I mean, you take that line, you look at the previous year, it was
Yep.
only at 1,091.
Yeah,
Budgeted for 5,000, and you're showing 622, you know, so.
and then the phones again, you know,
the
the line below that.
the phones, I'm gonna,
Good.
yeah,
And
I'm
previous-
gonna pass on, I'm gonna recommend, and again, the telephone, and the internet, and the fuel lines are the 3 that I don't, as a department, that are handled by the finance, by Betsy, okay?
Distributed or something, especially, I
Correct.
think the phone is completely distributed.
Phone, internet, and fuel are the ones I don't sign the invoices, so I don't know
Right.
what's in those lines, okay?
These actuals are dated 7/9, when another form he has, and they match these numbers.
7/9 or 9/7?
12/9. 12/9.
I was like, where,
Long night.
where are you?
Sorry about that.
No wonder they're so far off, you know, that was,
I know, I was like in July.
12/9. There isn't much time left.
I'm gonna show you, you know, uniforms, I'm showing an $81 deficit in the uniform line for this year. What's your balance showing?
uniforms, it shows 399 spent.
Okay, 399 spent?
Yeah, that's
I
it.
show minus 81 in that line. Okay? So,
It
So
could be
yeah, I'm
because,
not, I guess accounting's not caught up.
I'm making an assumption, but maybe are you tracking it when you order it and they're tracking it when the invoices are paid and so they're not in sync?
yes, I track it as committed when I order it and expended when I pay it, okay? And that's what I'm using, is because I track every one of my lines that way. So, yes, the answer to the simple question is yes, okay? Because I know one of the easiest hits for a budget type thing is you haven't used what you asked for last year. It gives the wrong impression right now,
Yeah.
okay? So, I was a program manager for the Air Force for a while, and I understand the budget process there, so, okay.
Right now, my notes are really off, you know, what was budgeted, what was spent. Asking for the same thing. You know, we spent $300 and asked for $5,000.
Right,
But
makes
to get
sense.
that cleaned up somehow.
Protective gear, here's another one that's probably a hiccup. I show $294 is what I got left in that line.
For
Protective
line
gear.
207.
It shows,
5825.
yeah, 58.
Okay, so there were some invoices that, yep.
Yeah, it makes our job hard.
Barb's?
That
It
makes
makes-
our job
It
hard.
makes it harder for
Exactly.
us.
Your questions, yes, yep.
It's easy.
These, when you talk about purchase orders of things that you have coming, or that theoretically would show as an AP, which is accounts payable?
Accounts payable, accounts payable.
Right, but some of these items you haven't received, right?
Some of the items I have not received, I have invoices for them, that's correct, though, okay?
So
Yes.
it is
And the
set.
invoices are, yes. Some of them have been paid already because of the lapse here, and other ones have been submitted for payment, okay? So,
They could get paid next year.
But they're encumbered this year,
Yeah.
so
Right,
it counts for this
Right.
year.
exactly.
right, and it's supposed to,
Right,
That's why you have a lot of spending in December.
yeah.
so you gotta see what's left.
Lines specifically, because I think I'm really, that, you know, any increases, let me go back into, see if I can find that on there. Let's go back to that one. If you have questions, because like I said, I could babble here all night, and
Just dial 911? Oh, sorry.
What about this line item? What do you think about it?
It's an emergency.
okay,
Sorry, bad joke.
22, right here. That one there.
You have an idea what you project for a total budget next year?
$300,000
Just
more,
one.
right?
I don't want to, for next year, for 2022 or 2023? 22, this, the one we're,
The twen-
No,
23.
23.
So it'd be, the big increase would be that,
$300,000
the
more.
salaries.
Yeah,
Everything else seems to have an impact as well.
493, 476 is the wag.
Was it?
493, 476.
He's prepared.
Say again, I'm sorry?
You're prepared.
Well, thank you. I'm sure there's a stump question somewhere here, but, I've been doing it for 15 years, John. Okay,
I know, it's been a while.
yes. And, any of the logic on the increases,
100 more, not
Okay.
I think I covered them with a broad brush, saying some of the vendors have changed. One of our software, one of the large ones for the software, Xerox sold our Firehouse software to another company, I think it was ESI. ESI came out with a surprise a couple months ago saying, end of life on that software, they're not gonna maintain it, nor we're not gonna do anything with it. So we had to look for another, incident reporting software option, and the most economic, feasible one has, is going for $6,000. It's an increase in the software licensing line. That's affecting the software licensing line. That was out of our control, okay?
Did you want to talk about, the second ambulance thing?
Yes, if you want, that's, I think that's one of the warrant articles I think I'm proposing, okay?
Okay.
Yep, I'd recommend, a warrant article this year to purchase a second ambulance to cover, some of the situations that we discussed earlier about having a second ambulance, and the obvious question is, if you only have two folks on, you have a manpower problem, how are we gonna staff the second ambulance? Well, that's where the call people come in, okay? Because we're not looking at dismissing the entire call department, okay? Their function is still needed, and they would staff that second ambulance. A second ambulance also gives us some breathing room. We have one ambulance in town, currently has close to 50,000 miles, not worn out, I'm not saying it's a 2017, but I can't take it out of service to do things like have some paint repair on the box done.
right.
Because, it's not gonna be gone for a day, they lie to you, it's gonna be gone for a week plus, and we only have one ambulance in town, and I'm not comfortable with that, okay? Not having an ambulance, having to rely on someone else to do
Not
that
having
kind of-
any is,
that kind of maintenance. Now, the warrant article is gonna be a request for $300,000, and the strategy is to have it fully funded from the ambulance billing fund, so it will not impact the taxpayers anymore, it comes out of the ambulance fund. That covers the purchase of a truck. It would be similar to the truck we have now, a four-wheel drive Type 1 ambulance, okay? It's on a pickup type chassis, a large 5500 chassis, similar to the one we have now. That does not include the outfitting of the ambulance. There's another 70, 80, it depends where we're at in the inflation, $1,000 worth of equipment that needs to be purchased to be able to license this ambulance. We're talking about duplicating it. We're not talking about moving equipment from one ambulance to the other. It's gonna be fully functional,
Yeah,
licensed
they
on
gotta
its
be
own.
identical.
So the payment for that would be coming out of a Doug McLean trust fund. Is, you folks, there's a trust fund that the fire department has access to.
Uh-huh.
You want the exact number? Well, around 116,000, and I don't wanna be quoted on that. That's why I brought the book.
Yeah,
The balance of that trust fund will cover the outfitting of that ambulance, okay? I think it's around 116, it's over $100,000. It will cover the, we plan on liquidating that trust fund. We've had it for years. We're in the period where we can't touch the principal. The interest rates have been not very good, as everybody knows, over the last X amount of years. So we plan on using that money, requesting it from the trustee of the trust funds to release it to purchase that equipment, okay? All the equipment for inside the ambulance. So, you know, the initial purchase and outfitting of the ambulance cost the town nothing, okay? The maintenance of it would be taken out of the ambulance trust, the ambulance revolving fund in the future, just like the current ambulance is fuel, maintenance, supplies, billing, paramedic, any ALS type billing that comes out of that fund, okay? So that's the strategy for a new ambulance for next year, okay? The second warrant article has to do with withdrawing approximately $30,000, I think it was 29 and change is what I had in for a budget for next year's ambulance expenses. Roughly $30,000 request to withdraw $30,000 to cover next year's expenses for the ambulance, okay? The next warrant article would be the one that would probably be everybody's interest. It's a request for $100,000 to be added to the truck and SCBA capital reserve fund. It's been a strategy that we've been using for years. We've been asking for $100,000 and keeping that fund up. We were able to buy our last engine 3 out of that fund. We expanded the use of that fund, if you remember, in 2019 to purchase $150,000 worth of replacement, the SCBA's, the breathing apparatus were replaced out of that fund, and we've purchased other things, other apparatus out of that fund. That seems to be working. 2 years ago, it was back down during COVID to $50,000. Somewhere along the line, we're gonna have to raise that up, but in 2022, I'm requesting $100,000. You're gonna say, when's the next planned apparatus purchase to do that?
Yep.
Okay. Our, right now, if the tank one is our oldest piece, we plan on running that as long as possible. We have no 20-year requirement or need to replace that, okay? That is a, let's go back here. 2005, okay?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we're putting enough away to kind of fund those, you know, to make sure we fund those appropriately.
The next first line engine that we're looking to replace will be engine 2, which will be in the 2029 time frame,
Yeah.
okay?
It's not that far.
Okay.
Yeah, it's off the CIP out.
Cause, yes,
Yeah.
cause that's a, I get messed up on my years, cause it's a 2009, okay, engine 2 is a 2009. At that time, and I think my CIP is worded that right now I'm not identifying what that apparatus will be in the future. It's whatever the town's needs are. Someone else will probably have to decide what we need at that time, but that's our projected for when we're gonna be looking at replacing another large truck. With inflation, the cost of trucks, we're gonna have to adjust that capital reserve deposit in the future, but for the next year, we're requesting $100,000.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about too, is when do we need to start increasing that amount?
I think CIP wise, and I don't have it in front of me, I think I put it out there to go up to like 150 in the out years, okay? Right now, it does increase for 4 years out there. to get that balance up there to where it would conceptually cover the cost of replacing an engine. That engine that we're replacing cost us like $320,000 when we bought it in 2009. Engine 3 cost us more in the neighborhood of $520 when we bought it in 2019. Draw the line, where's it gonna go? 700 some thousand, I don't know, you know, like $750,000 is where I think I was figuring on it.
Yep, okay. Thank you.
A bad one. I tell you, I'll tire you out. The other budget that you may wanna, I'm responsible for the emergency management budget.
Yep, anything there that you wanna hit?
There was a change in there, and let me follow around with- the change that I put in, okay, here we go, was under equipment, okay? 2022, an increase from 700 to 1,200. I apologize, it's the first year I had this budget, but it's to cover theoretically half the cost of the signboard that I had talked to Chief Woodman about. The PD was looking at purchasing a signboard, and I thought that's an expense that should probably be shared with emergency management since it's got dual use, okay? You know what I mean? You could have use for emergency management function, you know, bridge out, road closed, go home, that kind of stuff, you know.
So like one of those, sorry.
I'm sorry?
You're in there for 1,200 on that one.
Okay, 1,200, that's, okay, that's right, I increased, yep, okay, yes, sir. Change it by 5, there we go. To share that cost, just to,
I'm just trying to picture what the sign is. It's not one of those like,
Reduce your speed.
oh, it's a reduce your speed sign? No.
I'm gonna defer to Chief.
Okay, that's fine.
Tell you what it is?
Sure.
You want to come up or say here?
You can come up if you want. You're next anyway.
Yeah.
So, let me just tell you that, so to answer your question, yeah, it's dual, it's both. It is gonna be one of those signs that like says when you're driving, it'll flash like what you're going and it'll tell you what the speed limit is.
Okay.
And it'll do that like blue light, like, oh no. But it does, also, do dual options as a message board. So yeah, if there's a road that's washed out, closed down, something's ahead, we can put it on there and we can do it right by our phones, which is awesome. So it's remote, you know, it's gonna be on a trailer. All of my cruisers have a trailer hitch, so exactly. So it's gonna be, both of those. And then speaking, with the chief, you know, I attend emergency management meetings with him, you know, every couple of months or whatever, and just trying to help out the community, get them information. So it works in that capacity, and so that was
I
good.
was just curious, like, how big is it?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't have the dimensions, but if you've ever seen them, if you go through Stratford or Northwood or Lee, they're like, you know, half that size, just square. Easy to see, if that's what you're wondering. I don't have,
Is it like the one they have on 4 right before you get to the traffic circle?
kind of, yeah, exactly,
Not
yeah.
one of these little tiny ones that.
It's not that little, but it's
And
not huge.
It's not one of those huge, like, ones that
It'll-
they use in construction.
Yeah, no, so it'll fit, to put it in, it'll fit in the police department. We have a shed now, and it'll fit right in the shed, you know, just trail it in and back it up. But again, it's big enough that, I think it makes sense, so that's what that would be.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll just leave my-
Might as well stick around.
You're gonna help,
I
yeah?
got the hooks, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I wore them down for
And
you.
thank you guys so much. I didn't know you were done.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
Oh, no, he dropped that like 3 times.
PD should be like right before fire, I think.
Yep, starts at 168. Yeah.
So whenever I don't want to interrupt you
No.
guys if you're looking, so. Fawn Woodman, Chief of Police, Nottingham Police Department, good evening.
Good evening.
Same thing with the fire chief. I don't believe that you actually have a accurate, probably budget in front of you. I will say that there's a stack of invoices right now on the individual that does our financing has been out. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. So like I said, some of these numbers actually, you'll be happy, because some of the things that, I'm gonna talk about, some of those numbers have already gone down, and I don't need to budget for them next year, so. Does that make sense? Is there anything specific that you wanna talk about, or you want me to just start at the top and then, I don't know if I'm yelling.
Ask about
Yeah.
the uniforms, ballistic vest thing, because we had there was a question, in the minutes, we had written that it was for a vest for each officer, and then Chris Sterndale said it was a vest for one person, so I just wanted to get
Yeah, so it's,
clarification.
absolutely, yeah, it's twofold. There is a ballistic vest for one officer that we need. All of us have our own, obviously, like bulletproof vest that we wear on duty. What that includes is the outer vest carrier. So the uniform update, that money, and actually, I don't know if I even need to keep talking about it, because that money I've had a surplus at the end of this year, so I already went out and did that update. So that number for uniforms is gonna go down $5,000. That make sense? Okay. Yeah, it's actually probably a little bit like, I don't know, 5,300. I don't have the exact numbers, I'm sorry. But yeah, so really it only increased, I think maybe, it might only increase like $500 or $600. Does that make sense? Yeah. But I can explain it to you. So yeah, the uniform updated just included an outer vest carrier. You wouldn't know the difference. A uniform looks the same, but it takes the vest that usually suctioned kind of like to us, our body, and then we wear our uniform over it. It's outside, it's like outside of, that sounds weird, outside of our body. Sorry, it's late, right? Like, but it would be like outside of like a layer of clothing, and then it allows us, a lot of what we do for police work is, typing and doing whatever at the PD if we're able to. So it allows us to easily take it off and set it beside us, and ergonomically is a little bit better. I'm not wearing it right now, but it's just a lot. It's better. It's more innovative.
More
It's
comfortable.
And you can set everything up on it.
yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's just more like 21st century, like modern day police work, and yeah. So that's a great question, though.
So that's only the one you ordered, or?
No, so that was a uniform update for every member of the agency, that's here, so including me, there's 8 of us, so. But that's done, so that line will go down. Yeah, and so I guess maybe, if I go lines that have gone up a little bit, for instance, next year I've increased the overtime line. That includes a lot of the tricentennial celebrations that they do need police services for like traffic and stuff, and for safety, public safety. And I estimated that based on what they've told me that they're gonna do, a reenactment, a parade, a bonfire, I think they have 5 or 6 things that they're doing. And I literally just kind of like drew pictures of like, where I would need officers and.
2020, sorry, 2022?
It is, yes.
All right,
Yeah, it's.
it's here. It's here.
already
Basically,
here,
it's this year's
yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
But this is only like a one-time.
right, it's a
Increase.
one-time
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, but.
Right, but it has to be budgeted for, but
Right.
Sure.
the funds are supposed to come out of the tricentennial fund for that specifically,
So I don't know the right answer to that, to be honest with you.
The right answer is you budget for it here, because
Right.
it's part of your budget.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
okay, nope, that makes, so it's just the funding is different, so we have to include
Account for it.
that as funding to impact this budget. Okay, yep, thank you.
No problem. I guess the next thing that went up a little bit would be my part-time line. That part-time line literally just includes an officer, part-time officer working 1 day a week for us to fill in for, trainings, vacations, whatever the case may be. And it was just a little bit lower. That wasn't even an accurate number for like a fair wage to pay somebody, 1 day a week for that. So I had to increase it a little bit. Any questions about that? Yeah. I'm just trying to think what else, like as I go down, what has gone up. I mean, the other line that would have went up is postage. it's weird, but we use mobile data terminals, computers in the cruisers now. That's something new for us the past couple of years. And when one of them, you know, goes down, there's all kinds of different troubleshooting that we have to do, but some of that we actually have to mail it back to Patrol PC. That's the company that, is able to do stuff with them that obviously, like when it goes beyond our reach, you know, we can only do certain things as far as fixing them. And it costs a lot of money to put insurance on them. So that's why I went up with postage, because I noticed that I went over postage, so. I don't know if that makes sense to you, if you have any questions about that.
Makes
It makes
sense.
sense.
Okay. Another dues and conferences, I'm a part of, the Chiefs, New Hampshire Chiefs Association, and their dues went up, so that's why that went up. And then I think the other line that went up was, training. And that, again, is, anticipation of, more training that officers have to do. Right now, we only have to do 8 hours of, in-service training, each officer, and that doesn't include, like, that's the bare minimum, you know, that's not logical. But anyway, with that said, the police academy is gonna, make it incrementally go up to 40 hours in the next couple of years. So next year is gonna be 16, and with 8 officers at that many hours, I mean, that, a lot of the trainings, yeah, we can do for free, but a lot of the trainings do cost money. And so just to keep up with things, that's why that went up.
I noticed taser certification was on there. Do you guys have tasers yet?
We don't, but that would be anticipation. Those are my two, like, I'm going for 2 warrant articles, and one of the warrant articles is for tasers.
What's the other one?
So the other one would be cruiser cameras.
Okay.
So cameras right inside the cars. And I can talk about those 2 items now, or I can wait till after. It's up to you guys. But yeah, so that would be just in anticipation of that. And all that includes is I have to send an officer to get certified in taser, and it's like $700 for the class. And then they'll come back and teach all of us. So, you know, I have to pay overtime for that day or whatever the case may be. And so I just kind of tried to put some monies in there.
So is that, so they get certified, so they must get certified as an instructor?
Right, exactly, yep.
Train the trainer, basically.
Also, will they be able to go to different, like, departments?
They
and
could,
train them if
absolutely.
they wanted to?
They could, but I will say that most, obviously, but it's not obvious, that sounds rude of me, but yeah, most, if you have, firearms, expandable batons, OC spray, you have in-house people that are certified in it, so you don't have to go anywhere else. And something like a taser, they would have, that agency would have, you know what I mean? Like every agency around us, I hate to say that, they have their own instructors.
Okay.
But yeah, but that's what includes, and yeah, I'm like I said, I would ask, to put forward warrant articles, to get all the officers outfitted with tasers, and cruiser cameras.
In the CIP, we talked about, the tasers and the cameras, and we just didn't have, like an estimate of
Yeah.
what you thought that might be.
Absolutely. So these are really up-to-date numbers that I have for both. Within like this week, I just called them just to confirm again, what is it gonna be? So for cruiser cameras, it's about $37,000. But they did say,
How many
yeah.
cruisers are there?
4. Yeah, 4. So it'd be outfitting all 4 of them with, with everything. So it's 36,510, which is for cameras. I will say this, though. They did say that in 2020, I'm adding numbers, 2022, it might go up like 4 or 5% because of inflation or whatever, because they can, I don't know. And then for tasers, the number is 34,499, so about 35,000. And then again, the caveat to that they would expect like a 4 to 5% increase too in 2022. So.
Why don't you 186
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
equipment procurement items? Budgeted 16.5, you spent 27.2 this year. And you're asking for 27.2 again next year, is that you've already
I don't.
buy the equipment and reduce that budget line?
Yeah, so I don't have the actual that you see that says that I spent 2720.
That's actual, this is spent.
Yeah, I think that would be inaccurate. Mine says 8,677, so.
Probably go back to the 21 budget line item of 16.5 or the 27.2.
So So for 2022, I'm gonna propose 27,200 for various reasons, and I can explain.
I was just asking, it sounds like you already spent it this year.
No,
So it's probably a typo in that.
yeah, I mean, I don't see that, so no.
That you haven't spent it yet, or?
No, she's
Yeah,
looking
let me
at a
see it. I'm
different,
sorry.
form than we are.
Is it up there further?
Way over the budget.
Right, they budgeted 16.5, and they actually spent 27.2, and now they're
that's-
asking 27.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to, and again, I apologize, I'd have to get exactly what was put in that from the finance individual.
Did you take a look at that, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. I know it's over. It probably is over. That again, and I don't know how that happened. I didn't do the budget, just so we're all clear, in 2021. You realize that? Okay, so I don't know. I mean, I had a hand in it. I certainly, I was explained what items meant what, but I wasn't the overall, this is what we need for that. So that includes outfitting a cruiser. So every year, we do that. We have 4 cruisers. And every year, one goes away and we get a new one. And so that includes the outfitting of that. That means anything that cruiser needed. I can tell you that costs this year went up significantly. And so maybe what they were quoted, the previous chief was quoted that year, it does not reflect what it really was. Does that, if that makes sense? And I'm probably trying to answer questions that I don't even know if the right items were put in that line for that account.
Just take a look at it and see.
Absolutely. Yep.
This is where the other half of that sign is?
Exactly, yeah, this is where the other thank you, yeah, that's where the other half of that sign is.
Right.
And then, the e-tickets, the cruisers, we have those, computers in them, and we were supposed to have, like, go electronic, so the e-tickets are something that if we issue a summons or a citation, you just type everything in, and then, it goes right to the DMV in the state of New Hampshire, and then, yeah, somebody leaves obviously with a paper, the driver would leave with a paper copy because they need to know like when their court date is or how much the fine was or whatever the case may be. But it would be getting away from this really archaic, like 4-copy, canary form goes
The
to you,
yellow,
pink goes to me. You guys, some of you have gotten a ticket. No, I'm just I'm kidding. No, but no, honestly, and they're hard to come by. I mean, we have to get those things that I call archaic at Candy District Court, and it's like one of those things where like, so they just want us all to go to this system, and they're like, wow, okay, sure, here's a little stack, here,
Still doing it.
here you go. So yeah, I don't, that's what that price is. So yeah, that line is gonna go up a little bit. And the price to outfit, the 2022 cruiser, the costs have gone up. The equipment cost. We're not doing anything different. It's the same, it's the same. I mean, whatever that cruiser needs, things have to get cycled out. I think we rock a couple of, radios in the cruisers that probably are up on their time to get kind of transferred out. They're on their kind of like last leg type thing. I'm trying to keep track now as I take over, like what year something is and if it's making sense and if it's working good, and kind of have a spreadsheet that I can go by. But, it's one of those things now when, if I go up to my equipment person, they have to just tell me like, yeah, you can't use that anymore. That's outdated. This is, and hopefully going forward, I'll have more of an idea of that, if that makes sense. Do the right thing. Yeah, and like I said, honestly, so that's gonna be, even like, I think $7,000 cheaper, because also in the service contracts line, I paid a bill, I paid ahead for IMC maintenance, and it was like $2,600, so that's gonna go down too. So,
There was I know you're looking at, you're looking at a different one than we are, but,
that's okay.
the pistol permits, I just see that you went over budget,
Yeah,
It pays for itself though, right?
It does, yeah, and so that money, yeah, and so I think that what happened is, so I used that money, this year actually to buy us new holsters, and so it was a couple $100 more than that was in there, but actually that's probably inaccurate, because we literally take them in every day, the money for it, and so it's not updated.
Is it
and
still
it-
$5?
No, I think it's $10.
Okay.
Yeah, $10, yeah, and so, again, that's probably not an accurate number, I'm not gonna go over that line. Yeah,
When it says drone, is that what I think of when I see drone, or is that an acronym that I don't know?
no, that is exactly what you think of,
Okay.
yeah, we're able to,
It was in all
acquire.
caps.
I know, sorry, listen. We were able to acquire a drone this year, and it's really come in handy, but there is just, maintenance, little maintenance and training that goes with it, and so that would be what that cost is, yep. Very minimal though, and it is, like I said, it has come in handy so many times, like, we've already used it probably 3 to 5 times, that it's like, oh, that makes sense. Glad we have it, so.
Yeah, they're fun.
They are, yeah, I mean, people,
thermal
it
on
looks
it?
like a toy, what's that?
Do you have thermal?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, 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 it's
Are you
awesome.
guys gonna get body cams at some point?
So that would be my plan. My plan would be to go for the cruiser cameras initially. The cruiser cameras, are amazing. They really paint a big picture. I know that you guys are probably all YouTube things or seen police video, well, of course, because I hate to say it.
All over the news.
No, yeah, of course, and, and it always looks horrible because, sometimes it is. But it really, you get to see a panoramic, a 360 degrees, of what's really going on, and a lot of stuff happens in and around our cruisers, a lot of what we do. And so the state is, really at this point, gonna go forward and, if not pay for the whole body camera, at least 50%, so I'm waiting for that to happen,
Great.
and like let them pay for it type thing, like, yeah, we need it and we'll get it, but
In the meantime.
why don't you buy it, cause, they're expensive.
The cruiser cams, does that cover like all the data services and stuff?
Yes, it does. So what happens, it's like a $900 fee a year, but that puts everything to the cloud. They'll come in and they'll put like a hub on our PD, the side of the PD. So when we are patrolling, it collects data, It's always rolling. The camera is always rolling, so it's like, oh, be careful. But then when we pull in, it captures that information, and so we don't have to put it to a server or anything like that. Because I heard that's like a nightmare, and we don't have a server that would even support that, and that would be like more cost, and having a different IT person and blah, 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 so the cloud, I know, but you kinda have to do, there's pros and cons of that too, I hate to say, but anyway, yeah, it goes to the cloud, and it's kept there, and, yeah.
Cool, we're gonna have a modern police department.
I'm trying, everything we're, it's a small town.
Like,
They're changing very quick. The world right now, we could talk for hours. You guys got a couple hours and have some it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We're getting there. But yeah, like I said, I apologize for the actuals not being actuals, and, but I will tell you that I can tell you this for certain, my budget is at 667, 8, whatever. It'll be about $7,000 less than that anyway, so. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the telephone internet.
3,200 is the, budget.
Yeah, I know, again,
I see, we tie in with the town hall.
yeah, exactly, like, I don't even see those bills. I don't see, internet, phone, and gas, I don't sign off on anything, I don't pay an invoice, yeah, and we're tied into them, absolutely, so it's whatever whatever they're getting from that company, whatever they think it is, it's in my budget, obviously, because it needs to be, because I use it.
It just gets distributed.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, and I didn't increase my gas line, it says that I've only, spent out like 8,000 of it, I don't believe that that's accurate, I believe that that's more. But I think 16,000 is fair. 49 square miles, we run a cruiser a night or a day, we usually only have one person on a shift, just to let everybody know, but, you can easily put 150 miles on a cruiser, just, doing what you're doing, so I think that line makes sense. We might go over it, right, if gas increase, I just don't know the price at the point,
I know, that happened.
Yeah.
$53.50.
Yep.
Is the department fully staffed with 8 officers?
Yeah, so right now, I have, one is deployed. He just got stateside this week, but, he's still out until, February. He's in the Guard. And then I have one that graduates the academy tomorrow. So, And I have a part-time position that is open, but I think I just filled it. I have a conditional offer out with an individual who's full-time someplace else, but they're looking to pick up some hours, and they live in Raymond, so it would work out like tremendously. It's really hard right now. I don't want to bore you guys, but yeah, I mean, the fire chief was right. It's really hard to get people to want to do these public service type jobs right now. So we're doing the best that we can, I think. What's that? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we get that individual has their van back, and we've identified who did it, and arrest warrants are being drafted. And you can hate social media all day long, but that was a big thank you Facebook post.
I'm so glad they got their van back.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah, somebody went in for a slice of pizza and watched his van drive away.
From the parking lot.
Yeah,
My
you're,
car running there all the time.
yeah, it's,
Literally my car running.
yeah, so
Say like
don't leave your keys in the car and leave your
That happens like every time you're at Lyra, somebody just leaves their car on.
Usually it's winter.
Yeah,
time,
don't-
right?
like, I don't mean to-
Hot and warm.
I don't mean to laugh about it, but don't leave your houses unlocked. I'm being honest, like, people, you know, I live in Nottingham too. You'd like to think that we live in Mayberry, but we don't,
Right.
right? Yeah.
I
You
was
know.
just curious, how many times, have y'all been in situations where you know, the tasers or the cameras would have been like, is it?
Oh, I could-
I mean, every time, or?
I could write a book. The cameras are invaluable. I mean, it really will protect the person that we're dealing with and us, right? So it's like a no-brainer. Everybody wins. It's on the up and up. There it is, you know? And tasers, yeah, I mean, I can personally say for myself, I mean, thank goodness I have the gift of gab, right? Because you got to talk people into what you want. But, you know, certainly right now we have, there's people that are using heavy drugs or on alcohol, and you can't talk those people out of it, or have mental health issues, right? And so, yeah, there's been times that I personally had to ask another, like a neighboring town to come with less lethal, because, you know, I'm gonna be blunt with you, don't want to shoot somebody, but I need to incapacitate them to get them in handcuffs, right?
Right.
And I'm small statured, and let me tell you, I don't mind fighting somebody if I have to, but I have to go home at the end of the day. That's my rule, that's my job, that's what everybody should be doing. So, yeah, it's an intermediate weapon. They are so handy. Just the look of it, they've done studies, just having it on your belt is so beneficial, right? It's like, oh, they have a taser. I taught DARE at the Nottingham School for years, right? You know what the kids' first questions to me were? Where's your taser? You know what one kid actually said to me? No, put it in perspective, and I'm being serious. A fifth grader, 10 years old, you know what he said to me once? Sergeant Woodman, you don't have a taser? No, I don't. So what's your option? You just have to shoot someone? But no, that's telling. I'm being serious.
Going from 0 to,
But he knew that in his brain. He was like, oh, they don't have any other option. They're just, you know, if they're in this type of situation where less lethal could be very beneficial, they can't choose that. They have to go right for their service weapon. So, those are my thoughts.
great, oh, great.
So, anything else?
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you guys. Like I said, I appreciate it. I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, all right. Awesome, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Anybody need to take a break?
Yeah, actually,
Does anybody need to take
I could use a 2-minute break.
Couple minutes.
a break before we start with the school?
I can use a 2-minute.
Or you can save your
Wasn't
questions
was the
for
budget, or was the building inspector here earlier?
The building inspector?
Or is he the COVID marshal for the town? He was in the back. He's the guy that wouldn't let me in on Tuesday.
Oh, no, I didn't see
He was sitting in the back. He took off halfway through.
Sure we'd love to help you.
Does the chief know how long he's gonna be
Purchase something.
chiefing?
Jumps in the van and takes off.
Yeah, that happens a lot in wintertime. People leave their cars running, the heat, you know what I mean?
I
Warm,
was
it's
so surprised when I saw it.
habit too, right? Small towns, probably never happened to
That's what I
them
think.
in years.
That's what I think.
I know in the past, we were like, is that supplemental? That's what he was. And I
It's a different,
Curry, I was talking to you, I don't know if he still is, he works full-time at the, so he's not even full-time.
he does so much.
I don't know if he's still deputy.
I think he is, I'm pretty sure. He does so much. Edward does so much.
So they had that one where the jack slipped, the car fell on top of him and crushed him.
Yeah.
Trying to do the same thing.
I'm not planning to spend it out.
No.
Well, 11:15 is when we finished last night. It's my 4th night in a row, so I'm ready to go.
Do it in 10 minutes.
And we only spent 20 minutes on this one.
Oh, on the.
I have a question, well, Dubal. Next one. You're right there, that's the one-time fix.
No, because we need them every year, just different textbooks every year.
It's like college.
Specific line on like math textbook.
It's not,
You're
so
not
that,
gonna buy them the next year.
well, show me which line you're on. So are they split out by subjects?
Yeah, I think yeah, LA. 1100, 541, 002, right in the bottom. So the proposed budget is 0. Last year's budget was,
That's a lot, man.
oh, just wondering why that would be 0.
If we zeroed out all of the lines, we would never be able to purchase them. So, I mean, it's literally driven by the statute and what the
tell you a secret,
Department of Ed
just push
says you're allowed. I mean, this is checked by the Department of Revenue, and so if they say that that is considered a line that you use here as opposed to adjustment, that's. But yes, they do on the side.
4 or 5 years.
Looks like everybody's back.
All right. Everybody is back.
I mean, a better way might be to lump them all into one line instead of splitting them out by subject, and then it
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. It's nice that you have the proposed, everybody.
So this is the report that comes from the software, so that he was able to get that. budget column in there. So I'm just gonna highlight, I guess, the ones, that are not, so there's, wherever it's not a $0 change, or there should be a note, of why it's different. So you start with the current budget column, and then under the statute, it tells you what you can adjust. If it's contractual, like the first line, then you adjust it to the proposed budget amount instead of the current budget amount. Things that are, mandatory for, under federal or state law, so like FICA and those types of things get adjusted. A lot of the, stuff falls into those categories. The health insurance, if we have to use the guaranteed maximum, amount, but if we get what the actual is going to be by early January, we'll update both the proposed and the default to be what the actual instead of the maximum. Page 2, you have a lot of retirement, employment, workers' comp, those are all mandated by law. Page 3, the tuition for the high schools, there's a big drop in, and again, this is using the proposed budget and default budget of the same amount. there's a big drop in Dover enrollment, but there's an offsetting increase and then some in Co-Brown enrollment. When we have the actuals for where the rising freshmen are planning to go, which we should have early January, we'll adjust those numbers, but preliminarily we did, 2/3 of them going to Co-Brown and 1/3 to Dover, which is what. And all of the ones below that are no change, so those use the current budget. Current budget. On page 4, you start with the special ed, and most of those are required by law. We did eliminate the special ed coordinator line, so that's like halfway through the page. You'll see that there's a $60,000 decrease. That's part of the SAU transition. Once we have a full-time director of student services for our district, we won't need the coordinator, because that coordinator was a couple of days a week in our building, and then it was shared with Northwood. That position will be eliminated, so we took it out. Next page, the only changes are health insurance, and again, those were adjusted, the actuals. All of 6 and 7 are all special ed. We jump to page 9, that's the end of the special ed section. The Medicaid administration stays the same. And that's just a pass-through cost. We collect money from that and they take a portion of it. Co-curricular stays the same. And then you get down to athletics, those all use the current budget numbers. Those are all recurring costs.
Just a quick question on the co-curricular salary. So the salaries is the same between proposed and default, but the FICA piece is
Different.
proposed to be less, but isn't that a number that's just driven off the?
So I think it's because those are stipends, and the people who receive those stipends who are not full employees, it may be a lower FICA percentage.
Yeah,
So some of those people are, like community members or parents who volunteered to do to serve, you know, it's like a minimal
It
stipend.
just
that
seems
they get.
weird.
That's the only thing I can think of. I can ask Nate why that would be. But I think
I
that's
don't
just
know if it's the
calculated.
rest of the way through, you know, I didn't check the other lines necessarily, but
So I don't know exactly what the FICA amount is, but I think if you're below a certain income amount, you don't have to pay, you know,
yeah, it's,
FICA on that.
right, it's just weird because the salary is consistent, it's just the FICA numbers are different. So it's just a great question for Nate, that's all. And it looks like the athletic stipends are consistent.
Those are, I think all of the athletic stipends, coaches are. So if you flip to page 10, in guidance, there is a dollar change that uses the proposed budget amount. That's because we had a new hire and a track change. So there's 2 people, 2 guidance counselors And so there was both a new hire and a track change, which is why the increase. So
And the guidance people are under a union contract too?
they're under the teacher's contract.
How many contracts are there?
Two.
Para?
Paras and teachers, yep. Other than that, I think that's the only, the guy, that trickles down into FICA and those there. The nurse, there was also a staffing change at some point. Or no, I think that one was, no, that might be a staff. There was one that, it was anticipated that they were gonna have a track change and they ended up not completing the program yet. So that might be the nurse, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of when the current nurse was hired. It could be a staffing change. She's been there at least for the last year.
Yeah, I thought it was like a year, she was like in last year's budget, so this is like her second year or something.
Yeah, this was her second. She's also part of the teaching staff. Page 12. At the very top of page 12 is contracted services ESL. That went down substantially just due to changes in student need. Each teachers are part of the CBA. Speech is a special ed cost. And then top of page 13, PT is also special ed. That is adjusted based on need. That's pretty much it for page 13. So when you get to folks like the curriculum director at the bottom of page 13, because that's administration, they are not budgeted for the default to have any pay increase.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah. So
That's right, so it's higher with proposed.
that's based on current budget. Yeah, so it would be the same for page 14, the librarian is part of the teacher's contract, so those have to be adjusted. But on page 15, technology directors, part of administration, so use the current budget. I don't want to get too far ahead of you, but page 16, internet access, we asked Nate to double check because we did negotiate a better contract for that, which is why the proposed budget is lower. So he's going to check to see if that number should actually get reduced to the proposed budget amount.
Yeah, because it's a contract change, yep.
Contract reduction, which is fair.
Yep.
It's unusual. That was my phone.
Yep, yep.
So we asked him to check that. And all of the rest of that is based on current budget. School board, secretary.
The technology director's salary on page 15, is that contractual with the
No,
teachers?
so that
It's
one
like-
should be the current budget amount, so there's no increase.
Okay.
Because he's not part of the,
He's not part of
Teachers
the
and,
contract. Page 17, those are all based on current budget. We are still following up again on the SAU district assessment to confirm that that is how we're supposed to do it. If they say we have to split it out, then we have to spread all those costs into the correct lines throughout the whole budget and figure out what to do with those amounts. But Northwood is in the same boat for that, so we are checking again. The original, what we were originally told, but I think it was from the BA, was to do the lump sum amount, like what the past budget was, cause that's what was approved before. But he's checking with legal counsel on that.
Yeah, it's way easier for us to analyze this way.
Right, yeah. But at some point, those will get split out, so. So principal salaries, same as current budget, along with all the things that go with that. And then assistant principal, same thing. We have talked a lot about once we convert over to the new, whatever new software we end up using, consolidating lines, cause we have, even the BAs that we've been consulting with have said we have way more lines than we really need. A lot of these things like, all the, FICA, disability insurance, all that stuff for the principal and assistant principal could be combined, so you don't need to split them out into separate lines, so we'll probably be looking at doing that just for simplicity. And because the more lines you have, the more likely someone makes a mistake and puts it in the wrong category. On page 19, Nate thought that the custodian's health insurance should have, when he looked at this again last night, he said that, all the others are keep at current budget because they're not part of a CBA, so he thinks those should actually go back to current budget amounts, for the default, so he's checking on that. Page 20, those are mostly all current budget except for the insurance line because that's contractual. The propane, we've already signed the contract for next year, so that's why that line goes to the proposed amount instead of the current. Cause we locked in the price for next year. The rest of those are current budget. On page 21 is transportation, so both the current budget and or proposed budget, not current, proposed budget and default budget will be updated. We did review the proposals for both regular transportation and special ed. Thanks to Tom's good suggestion, we were able to negotiate a lower rate for the next 3 years because we agreed to do a 5-year contract.
That's great.
So that worked out well, and reduced it from a 4% to a 3.5% increase. So both of those, all those transportation lines will get adjusted slightly. The proposed budget already took into account at 3%, so it's really only gonna go up a small amount for the proposed.
The only thing I wanted to try to get added was some kind of language that would allow us to revisit the 4th and the 5th year of their contract.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Based on, fuel costs and things that are going on at that time.
Yeah, we're gonna get the actual contract language and see if we can negotiate that into it, but we agreed to accept the cost proposals. So. That's page 21. Page 22 is almost all current budget amounts. Under food service, there's one insurance buyout. So somebody must have changed from taking our insurance to using the buyout option.
I don't know if we had a total yet on all the buyouts.
I do not. We have to run some type of report to get that. And that pretty much brings us to the end. So the overall for the default right now is a 2.24% increase. I think it will go up slightly, but probably not over 3%. And then the proposed budget, if you flip to that
The
very
per
last
pupil cost
page.
is up 13%.
He's made a couple of adjustments to the proposed budget, so it's at a 1.21% increase right now. We know the transportation has to go up slightly. But again, it won't be over 2%. It'll probably be like 1.5 or something like that, once we finish making adjustments.
Per pupil cost is never gonna go down.
What's up?
I said per pupil cost is never gonna go down,
No.
kind of like taxes in general. They're never gonna go
Well, not with that attitude.
down. What does history tell you though? Unless you live in a different world than I do.
Does the school have any estimate on how many students are gonna leave based on these educational freedom account things?
We are not expecting any to leave. I think most of them would have already chosen other education options.
Do you get notified when people apply for those?
I don't think so. There,
Do
we
we
don't
know?
keep a tally of students that are in private schools. We keep a rough estimate of the homeschooled students because they can choose to move into the public school at any point, but people can enroll their kids in private school and we would never know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know that they leave sometimes to go to private school, but we don't keep track of how many do that.
Well, I wonder if we can find there's gotta be some data somewhere on who's applying for these educational freedom accounts, because the idea is you get a few $1,000s, you're taking your kid out of the public school, so you're taking some of the burden off of the public school, so you get a little bit of money to help you pay for the private school or homeschooling. And so if a significant number of people are taking their children out of the public school here,
I
then.
really.
I don't think they
Yeah.
will because it doesn't come close to paying for it, and I think there's an income.
And,
Yeah,
right,
but they've
it-
had more than expected people apply for this, so.
I think there's an
And
income on that.
it actually
is,
adds,
yeah.
adds burden to the public schools,
Yeah.
because unless you take out full classrooms
And
worth of kids.
Lop off half the building.
Yeah.
Well, no, if we have less students coming into the school, then there's no need for this $8 million school addition.
Well, right, but you have to have enough of them take it. So if like only a few people take it,
Then it doesn't do us
that
any
increases
good.
the burden, because
Yeah.
you just have less
It's not
students,
enough of a
and you still have the
change.
same cost.
Would you have the same cost with less students in there?
If it's not.
If it's not enough,
If-
if it was like
Take
30
out 5 or
students,
10 students, it's not
if
gonna.
it was like 30, enough to make
Right.
like a difference, but even if you take 2 out, you're still gonna have
Same number of
the
teachers.
same number of teachers and the same number.
Well, like the, you know,
It would have to be like
unfortunately,
a-
Detroit's probably a bad example where people just left, they had to consolidate schools, because there just wasn't enough kids in schools. You know what I mean?
That's not
Definitely
because
not the
they,
case
that's not
here.
because they went to private school.
Yeah, they'd have,
That's
they'd
not
have to like
That's
cut
demographic changes.
classrooms and grades out, basically to save money.
Well, it may just take a few years for this to help private schools flourish, and they can outcompete the public school, and there won't be any students left to have the public school for.
All right. So, anything else?
I was just curious, how many, so this, that, on page 31, the highlighted, so it looks like the total the proposed budget is, for 2023 is like 15,057,000.
Right, and
How many students in the school? Just rough, is it like 450 or so?
No, what was the number he gave, was like 478.
473 or 475, say, around.
It used to be about 5.
Yeah, we were up to like over 500.
low fives.
Alright, I'm just trying, maybe I'm confused, so I just did rough math, right, so 15 million, if we have 500 students, that works out to about $30,000 per pupil.
You gotta add in the high school people.
Oh, the high school.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Okay, I was wondering why I was getting so long.
It's like
800 and something, I think, they asked.
Yeah, I did
It
this
got
math
asked
last time and I
last
came
year.
out, the new
Last
budget, the
meeting.
new proposed budget is a little over 19,000 per pupil.
Okay.
And if you
And
can
then how many
actually,
students do we have in high school then? So it'd be about another, just rough, about 300?
That was under that, do something.
807 students total in 2020.
2020 or current?
My
The
notes. say
latest numbers
2020.
we got was, I think, June or July 2021 that I think I had. Well, let me see, cause I request them from time to time.
You always go to prep school at 65 to 70,000. Which used to be 30,000 when my son went for 1 year.
think,
Is that right?
Dover is around like 16 or 17,000 per student.
Mm-hmm.
Brown's like 18
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
cheaper to send the kids to high school.
Slightly.
Yeah, it is.
That's because we're not paying for the building.
Right,
Yeah, exactly.
I got numbers from September from Nate, and it's 795 total K through 12.
Okay.
So that 800 and whatever you had was
7.
pretty close.
Yeah, it was close. You said 798?
795.
Yeah.
It's 476 students in the
I can tell you from our
K through
report
8,
from yesterday.
and 292.
And our school board packets are available online if you want to go look. We have an enrollment report every month.
Nice.
Page 27.
That's helpful.
Yeah, I gotta remember to look at them.
Yeah, did you guys hear that? There's a school board report that gives like a monthly number of how many kids are in the school.
Actually, interestingly, that number should be adjusted. It shows 795 total Nottingham K through 12, but that's including all the kids that are homeschooled. So if you look at the actual in-district, it's 476, and then total high school is 292, which if you add those together is 768. So you would have to divide your 15 million by 768 to get your per pupil cost.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty easy to separate the high school numbers out and just do how much it is on a
Yep.
K through 8.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Well, it's
So
still
are we making a
still
motion to adjourn?
19,600. So
Do we gotta go over anything else? Just make a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
All right, I'll second.
All right, all in favor to adjourn?
All right.
Aye.